13th, 2024. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Here.
Salvia,
Here.
Hauser,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
King,
Here.
Sage,
Here.
Trent.
Here.
Thank you. Would you please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We have some fun, exciting things to start our meeting. But before we do that, we had unfortunate passing away of a person who ran our TV. The meetings were on TV, and he's a longtime person. His name's James Risco, and he passed away unexpectedly, so we'd like to ask for a moment of silence for him tonight. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So now on to the fun stuff. So we have tonight a recognition of the Stony Creek Cougars cheer team and the presentation of a city resolution and the cheer team who were state champions. So congratulations, you guys. Lots of hard work and dedication. So we have a proclamation from the city. It says resolution recognizing the Stony Creek Cougar cheer team. Whereas through hard work and dedication to their sport, the Stony Creek varsity competitive team won the state championship for 2024, whereas the cumulative team GPA is 3.8.
Wow.
Whereas the team had 7 all-league athletes, 4 first-team all-districts, 6 first-team all-region, and all-state athletes. Wow. Whereas the team posted the highest scores at the state final in round 1 and round 2, only being 1 point away from a perfect score. Next year, perfect, right? Now, therefore, be resolved that the City Council of Rochester hereby recognizes the remarkable achievements of the 2024 varsity competitive cheer team, and we all extend our heartfelt congratulations. So congratulations, you guys. Why don't we have one of the leaders come up, and I will pass this, and if you'd like to say a few words. So, well, we'll do this one. Why don't you come up
Okay.
here? We'll take some
We need someone to
pictures.
take a picture.
I got this one.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Vixen, and all of the city council for honoring us and supporting us through this. Rochester has a history of very strong cheerleading across the entire city, and it's not just by chance. It is definitely because of the support systems that we have in place here and all of the support. We always say it takes a village, and we definitely have a wonderful village in the city of Rochester and Rochester Hills for all 3 of our high schools. So thank you very much for taking the time to honor us and all of your support throughout the year. I also want to just say a couple other public thank yous to some people who are here and some who are not. I think it's really important to also acknowledge our entire coaching staff. We have a very strong, deep coaching staff with all sorts of knowledge and dedication. My other varsity coaches, my name is Tricia Williams, I'm the head varsity coach. Our assistant coaches this year were Andrea Cairns and Kayla Keenan. And our JV coaching staff, Jessica Ma and Susan Wood, work tirelessly with the athletes to get them to the level that they need to be. So thank you to our coaching staff. You're amazing. We are supported at our school by an amazing athletic trainer, Sydney Holland, who kept our girls functioning and healthy throughout the entire season. And we are lucky to have a very strong supportive administration in our principal, Mr. Shelson, and our athletic director, Mr. Anderson, as well. That is, of course, very helpful. Even more important, though, is the support we get from our parent group. Our parent support is like no other. They are always positive, they are always there, and they are always loud and rooting for us. No matter how it goes, no matter what the outcome is, they're there for their kids, and that's what's exciting. And they've kind of set the tone for the rest of the state in what cheer parents should be. And so we're very, very lucky to have the Stony Creek cheer parents behind us. So I know there's some of them in the audience, but I want to just make sure that they get the credit that they're due as well. Every year we do the same thing as coaches, and I find that from year to year the difference is really in the leadership of the athletes. This year we were led by 11 very charismatic, driven seniors who are going to do amazing things, I know. But they definitely changed our team tenor, and the attitude and everything was enjoyable and fun, and even the stressful times were really positive. And I credit that to their leadership and to their planning and to their intentional choices to make sure that they were the best leaders they could be for this team. And because of that, we had a really successful season, a really successful year, and we are proud to say we are the reigning state champions. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, come up.
Yeah.
Who takes the picture for us?
I don't know.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, we're coming.
Come on, Deb.
Deb.
Come on, Deb.
Deb, you're enthusiastic.
Deb, we want you out in front, right up here.
Are the representative of all of this, so much. This is
That's right.
If you want to, yeah.
I know. Balance it out.
All right, thank you. Good.
Good to see you too.
Being cheerleader.
Congratulations.
Oh, wow.
You want to do like a little
I will let you know.
like underground
All right.
tube kind of thing?
Come on, do a cheer.
Yeah, don't we get a cheer? Something? Something? Oh, just even like a rah? Okay.
Here we go.
Someone film this, would you?
Yeah, you got it? Yeah. Yeah, you can.
I'm not filming it, yes, so that's how you get arrested, yes, so you guys, yes, yeah.
Said the attorney.
Oh,
Sir, have a seat, yeah.
right? It's all about performance.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Windows?
Okay, maybe windows so you don't punch each other.
Windows.
You got it, girl.
Someone step up.
You're on TV right now, just so you know.
Right on
Abigail? Ava?
Okay, 3 times for the win. Got it?
Come on, Ariana.
Don't hit each other.
Ava, step up.
I know her. Her mom and I were very good friends in high school.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Set, ready.
I'm motivated.
Mr. Knapp, that was for you. He just walked in.
It's funny.
Of course, I know Gracie.
What happened to
I know, we did. I know, you've been over at the Hubbard House.
crazy.
I'm so glad you introduced yourself.
Yeah, if you, yeah.
You can stay for the whole meeting, it's 3 hours long. Yeah.
They did not have to stay for the meeting.
Make a run
Thank you,
for it.
guys.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies.
You're discussing short-term rentals.
That's definitely odd.
Yes,
Thank you.
true.
Thank you, Sue.
I got all my notes ready. I wrote them all.
See you, Steve.
What are we starting with? Oh, the library, right?
Isn't that amazing?
She's there.
How fun was that?
It's nice.
Oh, Kiwanis?
Isn't that weird? Like
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. That was quite a thing, and Mr. Bothwell, we're expecting similar type of activities here. Okay, so next, we're recognition of Eric Bothwell, who has lived in the city for a long time and served this city well. So I have a proclamation for him, is where the city of Rochester recognizes Eric Bothwell for his service and dedication to the city of Rochester. Whereas the city of Rochester honor Eric Bothwell's 14 years of service on the Rochester Historical Commission. Whereas the city of Rochester honored for his 8 years of service to the Greater Rochester Heritage Days Committee. During this time, he hand-delivered thousands of American flags to attendees. Whereas the city of Rochester honored Eric Bothwell for his service on the City Beautiful Commission. While serving as vice chair of the commission, he led the research project to designate the 12 points on the sundial at the entrance to the municipal park. Whereas the city of Rochester honored Eric Bothwell for service as the city photographer during the Main Street Makeover Project, capturing the rich history of years gone by below Main Street. I remember you got way up in the fire thing. Whereas the city of Rochester honored Eric Bothwell for his 10 years of service with the Rochester Lions Club. During this time, he served as both vice chair and president of the organization. And in 2007, he established the Heritage Rod and Custom Car Festival, an event that is celebrated each year during the Greater Rochester Heritage Days Festival. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Rochester City Council hereby expresses its sincere gratitude to Eric Bothwell for his years of service and dedication to the city of Rochester and for living here all these years. So, Eric, congratulations. Lost your, getting shaky over here, right?
They kind of
Congratulations. Thank you.
tested that flora.
Right, yeah.
So let's get a picture. Okay. Here. Okay. It's a good thing I'm the athlete that I am, I would have right on my face there.
Oh, yeah. You know what I was saying while they were doing that? I was saying, VICTORY. Victory, victory is our cry. Are we in it? Well, I guess. Rochester High School. Yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I moved out here with my grandparents after my dad and ma split. And then he was drafted in World War II. And we lived on the corner of Old Perch and Walton. A lot of people think that's the original name. Well, it's not. What happened was, originally it was Old Peach Road. And what happened, they had a sign maker actually redid it, and they switched some letters around and they become Old Perch. So that's a true story. And if you go to look at a plot map for about 1940 or 48, you'll see it was a J.A. Arnett farm, and it was the old peach farm. So that's how far I go back. So
a
anyway, you
great
take
story.
care all. Thank you very much for the
Yeah,
award.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, so next we have an overview of the library millage request and kind of conversation on their budget and some things like that.
Yes.
So we have Julianne from the library here tonight.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Mayor Bixen, Mayor Pro Tem Salvia, thank you to the council for entertaining this update today. Last I was here was in January when I provided an overview of where we were from the 2023 year. We like to present to you every year on our annual report. Today I'm back talking to you about the next century of service and how the Rochester Hills Public Library Board of Trustees feels that they have come up with an equitable way to sustain and fund that next century of service. So let's do just a quick level set. I know I have at least one new council member that wasn't here in January when I last presented. We touched on the fact that we are in our centennial year, so we were formed in 1924. The Rochester Hills Public Library is governed by a six-member board, which are elected from the citizens of Rochester Hills, and then two non-voting liaisons, both from our contract communities. I have with me tonight Alice Moo. She serves as your citizen representative and liaison to the library board as well. So back in 1924, the community founders pledged support for the community with a 1 mil in perpetuity method of funding, and that millage rate has not been raised in over 100 years. The millage rate has been rolled back, though, as a result of Headley and its act, and is currently at 0.73 in Rochester Hills. The current budget is just over 5.5 million, and 86% of the revenue is derived from property taxes. Let's talk a little bit about the City of Rochester and RHPL. So the City of Rochester has been a contract community with the library since 1967, and this date is probably familiar to most of you because you know this is when the village decided to incorporate and become a city. Assets were divided up. My understanding is that there were 4 main assets that had to be divided between the City of Rochester and Avon Township. They included the municipal park, the cemetery, the Avon Township offices, and then the library. The library was ceded to Avon Township, even though it's in the service area or the district of the City of Rochester. The formula for determining annual fees was based on the same exact millage rate, that 1.0 mil, as it was in Rochester Hills. However, yours is a little different because it does permit the DDD tax capture.
DDA.
Oh, sorry, DDA, apologize.
No.
The millage rate for the City of Rochester in 2024 is presently set to 0.68, which I will point out is less than your counterparts in Rochester Hills. In 2024, City of Rochester committed $575,500 out of your general fund to pay for library services. So, there's an August 6th ballot question that the Board of Trustees at the library has advanced for consideration for the citizens in Rochester Hills. It is a new millage, 0.39, it expires in 3 years. You all know this, it equates to 39 cents on the taxable thousand of property taxes. So if it is approved, contract communities would then be held to the same level of per capita costs, which amounts to about $64 per person, and I'll get into that in just a second. It's a different, yet equitable formula from what was done in the past. So we're not proposing the same millage rate across all 3 communities. What we're doing instead is saying, let's carve things out according to population and come up with a per capita cost, because everyone has slightly different taxable values in the 3 communities that comprise our service area. The proposal for the City of Rochester is something that you're considering and debating tonight. The library values the partnership that we have with the City of Rochester and wants to see it continue both with the city and the 3 communities we serve. RHPL proposes renewing the contract and establishing a new formula for calculating annual fees. It would bring parity with the per capita funding in Rochester Hills. Again, it's around $64 per capita. If that millage rate is approved in Rochester Hills, it would result in an annual fee of around $840,697 for City of Rochester. It is a difference of about $265,000. If you decided to go for a millage, it could amount to a millage rate of about 0.8852. No opt-in for DDA tax capture. I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but I can speak to this a little bit. Since 2018, new millages have by default not opted in to DDA tax capture. It is your prerogative. You are the body that would decide if you want to bring a millage forth. If you did decide to do that, you have to be very explicit in how you enumerate to the voters at large how much of that intended millage for the library would be then segmented off for that DDA tax capture. As a result, most new millages post 2018 do not opt in for that tax capture. The alternative is that City of Rochester can fund library service out of general fund, or you can place that question on the August 6th ballot or a future ballot if you so wish. Let's talk a little bit about the research that we've done and what led the Board of Trustees at the library to make this decision. So the 2024 research on RHPL satisfaction and support, we completed a comprehensive customer satisfaction survey recently. We found that 97% are satisfied with both library operations and satisfaction with the staff. So these were 2 separate questions, but the team scored scored 97% for both of these. 89% agree that residents get a good value for the property taxes they pay at the library. 93% agree that they trust the staff at the RHPL. And 97% believe that they will use the library the same, 56%, or more, 41% in the next 5 years, which are very gratifying figures to see. So all of this led to the idea of putting it to the voters at large for August 6th ballot, and the messaging has subsequently shaped accordingly. So the tagline that we're using is information only, but it suggests a new millage for the new next century of service. The key parts that we're going to hit home is that it's been the same millage since 1924, no increase in over 100 years, which is a fairly remarkable feat when you think about how many times public agencies and public institutions go back to the voters at large for some sort of millage increase, whether it's fire, police, schools, OPC, zoo, DIA. There's a variety of entities that have to go back to the voters every so often. The RHPL millage ranks in the bottom 5 of libraries in the region. So this is one of the lowest in terms of millage support for a library. And all other cost-cutting measures have been exhausted. So let's talk about what patrons will get. Increased budget for new materials. It would amount to over $1 million annually spent on the collection. It would have a renewed focus on more e-materials and shorter wait times for our popular materials. We would have Sunday hours year-round, which is not something that our library has, but we consider ourselves a high-caliber library, and most libraries who are at our level certainly do offer Sunday hours year-round. We have to suspend in the summer as a cost-cutting measure. We would upgrade our existing fleet of bookmobiles that serves individuals in our 70-square-foot area. But what's also important for yours, because I know you're more concentrated around the downtown, we also serve preschool students in 24 local schools, and I'm not sure everyone's aware of that we send one of our bookmobiles out to those local schools every other week. There would be more story times for youth and programming sessions for all ages. We would have a modernized multi-purpose room, which amounts to really good amenities for our community meetings, our homeowners associations, our programs, our scout troops, with improved sound, lighting, and comfortable seating. We would look to invest in alternate delivery methods for getting items to our patrons faster, such as same-day delivery, or adding to those bookmobiles, like I had mentioned earlier. Investment in critical infrastructure for our aging 30-year-old building, as well as improvements to make it fully ADA compatible and environmentally sustainable. And then we would engage in a feasibility study for value-added elements like adding a cafe as part of library operations or a podcasting studio. More importantly, how will patrons feel? If you invest in the library in this manner, this is what we predict. Expanded hours, contemporary study spaces are going to make the patrons feel smart and entrepreneurial. This is their tax dollars at work. They're going to be able to find a comfortable space to stay and make it their third place for the remainder of the day or however long they want to stay with us. Enhanced programs and opportunities for our school-age kids give kids a leg up. This is incredibly important. I speak with a lot of parents. I know that they are looking for that slight little edge. We know the importance of getting as many vocabulary words in front of our little people as quickly as possible, and that is a strong predictor of student success long-term. Updated building to ADA standards and our new social spaces make you feel welcome and respected, and we think it's a wonderful way to combat that crisis of loneliness that we are facing in our community right now. Infrastructure needs, if you visited the library, some of these might be familiar to you, although we really try to do our best to polish it and make it look as pretty as we can. These are some of the underbelly sides of the library that are just deteriorating at this point. You can see tiles that are popping, grout lines that are actually higher and exposed higher than some of our tiles. We have crumbling tile at our entrances. We have worn out furniture, and I like to actually point out the fact that on the right hand of the screen, you have the furniture there that's been reupholstered twice from our library that used to sit on Pine Street. So that is furniture from the 1970s. So we have done a really good job of making sure that we have taken it to the end of useful life, and I'm here today to let you know that we have reached that end of useful life for this. This is our comprehensive infrastructure needs. This is a must-do, not a nice-to-have. There are things on this list that I would also like to see us add to, but this is what we would absolutely have to come up with. And if the millage is not approved, this would most likely cut into operations, so we would have to cut back on other things because it's non-negotiable. We will have to do these things in the future. This amounts to $7.5 million over those 10 years. What have we already cut? So these are sometimes the frequent questions that I get asked. So between 2010 and 2019, this is when my predecessor, Christine Haig, was here at the library. It's worth noting, though, in that decade, we froze staff wages for 3 years, cut the library's retirement by 40%, cut back our staff healthcare plan, cut budgets for supplies and specialized consulting, and then again, reupholstered that furniture or relaminated our study tables. During my tenure as your executive director of the library, we reduced our staff from 135 positions to 105, mostly filling in with technology where we could leverage it smartly and efficiently. We outsourced our 5-person custodial department to a nightly cleaning service, eliminated 2.5 FTE positions with benefits, did not replace. Deferred major furniture upgrades by acquiring old disposed of furniture from other libraries. Yes, it's true, I don't love to admit this, but we have been accepting hand-me-down furniture from other libraries as they go through their renovations, and we take their discards. We've completed major projects with an internal team, eliminated consulting and installation fees, eliminated or rebid service contracts. Our garden landscapes, which are gorgeous, are maintained by volunteer gardeners at no cost to taxpayers. We've deferred replacement of bookmobiles and instead purchased a small utility van to transport materials, eliminated long-term care insurance, installed LED lighting with our internal team as a way to reduce utility costs over time. I also get asked about grants and donations. Why don't you just chase some more grants and donations? Well, the library does benefit from generous donations made possible by an annual appeal in the fall. Typically, it yields around $35,000. It's unlikely the community would support a second appeal, and it's really not financially sound to constantly be looking to fund your library on just the good nature of donations. We want to put this ballot question in front of the voters to make a decision if they want to be the one to sustain it in more of a practical sense, as opposed to just looking for generous donors in the community. The library has pursued 3 major grants, $50,000 or more, but was not awarded any of them because the community demographics do not demonstrate enough need. So it's a good problem to have, but it is unlikely that Rochester would be a strong candidate for grants in the future, given our economic standing as one of the wealthiest communities in the state. How does Rochester compare? I mentioned this earlier. The current millage rate, Hadley reduced, is in the bottom 5 for the Metro Detroit region. So the only libraries that have a lower millage rate are Lincoln Park, Ray Township, Romulus, and Chesterfield Public Library. So when we talk about supporting a library, that is our cohort of level of support. And I think it should come to the voters to decide if we want to have a more elevated level and a greater investment. Among our peers, so we see these libraries as sort of pace setters for the level of service that we are offering. You'll see on the chart there, we range from Canton Public Library, whether it's looking at their population, their operations, and ultimately on the last column, their total levy millage rate, ranging from 1.44 all the way down to the Rochester level, which is at 0.73. Who uses the library? I'd love to answer this question because in 2024, as the library director, I often get asked, well, who's even using the library anymore? I'm really proud of the fact that this community seems to really love its library, and you have tremendous market share here in Rochester as well. The library has over 1,150 visitors to the library every day. That is worth me reiterating one more time. That is every day we are welcoming over 1,000 people into the libraries. There's a net gain of 553 new library cards issued each month, so that means we are weeding out those people who no longer use the library. We don't have old dormant accounts on our system. We weed them out after 3 years of inactivity. So this is new library cards that are coming in each month. We already talked about this briefly in our 2024 survey. 97% indicated that they would use the library the same or more. This is up from 95% when we asked the same question 2 years ago. Demand for electronic materials such as ebooks have grown exponentially. We saw a 20% increase over our 2022 numbers and almost doubled the year prior. Meeting and study room needs have exploded for our students and our work from home professionals, with over 10,000 reservations in 2023. So as I bring this to a close, I want to just reflect on the fact that we want to offer a 21st century library experience, but we feel hampered by our 20th century millage. The size of the library back in 1924 was approximately 1,700 square feet, and now it's just over 75,000. The population served was 3,870, and now it's 110,000. In our first year of service, that one-person library staff circulated 14,543 items. We now employ more than 100 people from your community, and it circulates more than 1.5 million titles each year. We think it's time for the voters to make a decision about funding the library in a more sustained way for our next century of service. I know this leads to a lot of questions because you are one of my valued contract communities, so I'd like to open it up for what questions can I answer for you right now that would help in painting a better picture for how Rochester relates to the Rochester Hills Public Library.
Well, thank you for that presentation. Council? Councilmember Jones.
This isn't actually a question. This is just a compliment to great presentation. Thank you. But just how you've been able to sustain, even when you look at the dollars on some of those libraries and how you've maintained a lower budget and what you've been able to accomplish. So kudos to you and your predecessors who, you know, I used to go to the one that, was right around the corner. So I'm proud of our public library and all that you do. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
You. Councilmember Trent?
I will just add on to, yes, I came, when I first moved to this community, it was on Walton and
At Pine.
Pine,
Pine,
Walton
yeah.
Pine,
Yeah.
when she's at Pine. Yes, and then I did know, I was there when the new building was built. And my memory was that the building was bigger than what the needs were, they felt at the time, and they weren't going to fill, they didn't have the funds to, at the time, because they spent a lot on the building, and then they were going to play catch-up. So I'm assuming this is part of what is happening, is that, because I did know that there was a lower amount of funds that were funding this library than others. That was what I was told at the time.
Yes, I just to echo what you're saying, I think in part what Councilmember Jones said as well, I think it's been remarkable that we have been able to live within the means that our community founders first pledged in 1924. When that new library opened in 1992, I know there was some concern that operating utilities, upkeep, additional staff would just balloon and that they wouldn't be able to handle it. I'm proud to say that they were able to figure out how to live within their means, and that's something that we have cited as a point of pride for a number of years. You might remember that in 2019, the library board came very close to considering a millage at that time. It was obviously a very different council, so I'm not sure how far, that was before my time as well. But I hearken back to that simply because I do think my predecessor and the board that was serving at the time understood that we were going to be hitting a wall then. The timing wasn't right for us to ask for it in 2019, but I'm coming back to you today to say this board has made the decision that they are moving ahead with Rochester Hills residents. And it does have a waterfall effect to you as a contract community.
So just to add on to that, so that they were projecting, and I do vaguely remember 2019, I knew Christine Haig, and that, but they put it on hold, and so then this was coming eventually, and
It was certainly written in the tea leaves, if I can use that expression, that at some point we were going to hit that upper threshold of what we could actually handle when it comes to creating enough surplus out of the revenue that we were getting from property taxes. It was fairly clear back then that we weren't going to be able to sustain. We went through a lot of transition. Christine obviously left and I became the new director. COVID immediately hit a punctuation point on any of those plans. And so now that we are back into full-time service, we're taking another hard look at our finances and saying, we have to put this to the voters and let them decide how they want to fund the library.
And just one more thing, my understanding at one time it was the second busiest library in Michigan, is the next to Ann Arbor. Is what I don't know if it holds that status now, but I would like to say that.
It is one of the busiest single-site libraries that there are. There are some libraries that are tremendously busy because they have, 6, 7, 8 branches. We are one of the busiest single-site libraries that there are in the state of Michigan.
Well, you have done a magnificent job, and I do love this library very much, and it does, it's one of, I think it was at the time, there was a survey done, I think Christy Trevorrow may know, it was the two busiest places or most used was the library and the post office. Yep. And then Metzelfels, okay. So there you go. Thank you very much. This presentation really locked it in for me, and I had some questions, and this explained it very well, so thank you.
Great.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you, Julianne. So I 100% support the library. Some of my questions, and really for public awareness, is the structure that we have as a contract library, because my concern is we do not have real representation, true representation on the board. How do we get true representation? If the taxpayers in Rochester Hills approve this and there's going to be big dollars being spent, how do we have any representation around how those dollars are spent? Right now, we're just a liaison.
Yeah, I appreciate that question because it does give me an opportunity to talk to how we are established currently under the law, which is a law that dates back to, I believe it's 1877. So that is how this library is formed, and we are governed by that public act thus far. In your background document, which was included in your packet, I do go into some measure of detail about what it would take to become a district library. So I think where you are forecasting and crystal balling is what would it take? It would take forming a district library for us to have representation potentially from someone in the city of Rochester. And I say potentially because most likely it would be an elected board, very akin to what you see in the school system, so the school district, where it is 3 different communities that have come together and they have an elected board from the populace at large. So there is no guarantee that it would have direct representation from the city of Rochester, but that would certainly be the key and the way that you could then have some measure of direct input.
So it takes going to a district, which what I hear there is that's a pretty big process.
It is yes.
It's a big process. So I support this, but I don't support it with a tax increase to our residents. I think we have funds in the general fund that we're about to approve tonight, our next round of budget. We could figure out a way to do this, but I also think we haven't had enough time as a council to really deliberate on this and strategize. One of the things that I have been thinking about is, and have talked to the finance department about this, is could we propose a millage to the residents of Rochester of the requested amount, call it 0.88 mils. At the same time, Rochester reduces our general property tax mill, so it would be tax neutral. So not requesting an increase in taxes, but have that be a millage that would be dedicated to the library. To me, that provides the security for the library going forward, that those dollars are always going to go to the library without a future council or administration changing that. But again, that is a strategy that clearly would take some time, and honestly, I don't know why we weren't talking about this sooner, but that is something that I would like us to consider.
Councilmember Jones?
I believe you have a deadline at least, which is tomorrow, correct? So we would have to decide tonight if we were going to move forward on a millage, to at least get on that ballot, which is where Rochester Hills will be putting it, correct? So my thought is that we have a comfortable position in our general fund. I'm uncomfortable going out to the community to ask for a tax increase in a millage. So my position would be to take the funds, the extra, I believe, 285,000? 65,000 out of the general fund.
Further comment, Councilmember Say?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I too, because I look back at, and thank you, Juliet, for the presentation. So I think back to in February, we had the school board came to us with a millage. So I just think in terms of timing with the residents, I want to be cognizant of that. And to everyone else's point here, we do have funding available, and we might find an alternative way to provide that funding in a tax-neutral impact on the residents. And I'd love to explore that as opposed to just saying, here's another tax. So I think we can move forward in some positive way and still fulfill your obligation.
Councilmember King?
Thank you. Thanks for coming here tonight, and it's lovely to meet you. As you know, I'm a big supporter of the library, and we use it quite frequently. I love the added, if anybody has gotten into puzzling, they have lots of puzzles there, so that was a new find for our family. I just want to understand, so the current millage that we do have, do we have an expiration?
We don't have a millage.
It comes out of the general fund.
It comes out of the general.
Okay, I thought it said here that we have a millage of like 0.63 or.
It's
equivalent.
You're correct that we use that same formula. So in so much as composing the contract and coming up with the annual fee that the library then goes back to the city of Rochester with, we use essentially a millage formula, but you don't have the dedicated millage. So it's like you're both right. You're right in the interpretation of it because we use the millage factor reduction, all the same things, all the trappings of a millage apply to how we come up with your annual fees. But the city of Rochester does not have a dedicated millage on the books.
Okay, and so does that, like a millage, would that increase and decrease as our tax, values?
That's a great question, yes.
Go up and down?
I like to answer this because, given the Headley Act and Proposal A, how those two things work in tandem, millage rates can actually only decrease, they can never increase. So if you were today to decide to move ahead with that 0.88 mils, in the future, under current tax law, the most that could happen is it actually would roll back. And it has done that pretty much year after year, except for the last couple of years because inflation has been so high. Again, we don't have to get into the weeds on this one too much. But for the most part, millage rates roll down, they never roll back up.
Okay. I think for me, given the amount of the request, I don't want to go out to the taxpayers for this. And if anything, I think an idea of tax neutral, and maybe that's something we think about for the next budget. We don't really have the luxury of time for tomorrow's filing, but I would like to find a way that we can fund this.
Councilmember Hauser?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Oh, yeah, sure. Julianne, thank you for coming. And again, it's a wonderful presentation, and you and your staff, as I've mentioned before, just an outstanding job that you do over there with the resources you have. In looking at your presentation, no one can say that you guys are on some crazy spending spree or that you're, not being resourceful with what you've got there. You're stretching every dollar and it doesn't go unnoticed. I think everyone on this panel has raised some very good points. Councilperson Salvia, I like your idea of trying to find some type of balance, between a millage increase and then a decrease so it washes out to zero. And then I also understand and appreciate that time is of the essence, and we've kind of got to do something here sooner rather than later, i.e. now. So I'm in favor of what has been discussed previously, using that money that's in the general fund, which we do have, and we have the luxury of having, and I think it's a good use of that money for this particular proposal. So that would be my spot, is I would be in favor of, I think, what's been discussed, and then continuing that dialogue and that exploration of whether we can find that neutral millage to increase and then take away, to make, moving something in the future.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Yeah, thank you. I did speak with Clerk O'Connor before if we wanted a November ballot proposal. I get it, it's a presidential election. We may or may not want that, to Councilmember Sage's point. But the deadline to submit is August 13th. Rochester Hills election will be August 6th. So just to kind of keep that in mind.
Councilmember Trent?
Yeah, I've been in several meetings, and I've been on the finance committee, and I've gone back and forth, but I have landed on just taking the $265,000 out of our general fund at this time, and then gives us time to figure out what we want to do moving forward. And that's the nice part. It's not do or die, right? We can revisit this, and now we do it this way, and we've done it. We've taken it from the general fund as a matter of precedent, and I would like to continue that.
So I have a question. So Rochester Hills is set to go with that number?
Yep.
It's already on the.
Yes, it's a certified ballot proposal at this point.
Just in the future, it would have been nice that board, before they did that, would have come to us and, given us some input in that. Instead of just saying, here's your number, you have no choice.
We need representation.
Yeah, that's just, that seems like a inclusive way to do things.
I agree.
And this feels non-inclusive from your board, not from you. And, as we said, this is a great presentation. We're all supportive of the library. But I just, in future, I think that would have been nice. I also do not support going to a millage now. I guess I'd have to see what a neutral millage lower I'm not sure I exactly understand why, but that's something we can talk about in the future. So Nick, do we need to do something tonight?
We need to take a vote.
Technically, no, but I mean, if you're trying to, I'm sure Julianne's trying to get a commitment where we're headed, but nothing official has.
Yeah. Why? Okay.
When would a first payment to the library be? Because we pay quarterly.
We paid all the way through.
But they have to go through when does all that start?
Your contract renews July 1st. So you will be renewing your contract, everything status quo, this July 1st. I think I will be approaching the fiscal year 24-25 as a transition year. I invite having future conversations about how you might, fund libraries in a more sustainable way. But we are certainly amenable to you just funding it out of general fund, and I thank you for your deliberation tonight. The same was going to be true even if you were to go for a millage. My understanding of how charter works for the city of Rochester is that you collect tax dollars on the summer taxes. And so even having a millage on August 6th would have still put us on that calendar year for next year. So this entire time, we're really looking forward to what's happening in summer of 2025, quite truly.
So we have time in the budget process to,
Yep.
Any further questions? Okay, so I think we're not going to do a millage,
Great.
and we are going to work on how
have
to
a
fund
question.
it from our end.
Just one last-
Councilmember Trent.
So the point was brought that you were saying that we didn't hear from wouldn't the liaison come and talk to us every quarter or something? Would they, is that, so we would be more apprised of
Certainly.
it?
Yes, I will say, our intent was to get something before you for your goals and objectives meeting, but I understand that your agenda, I think, was long, and that this, even
Oh,
though
I
it was
got you.
submitted as a point,
I see.
was never attended to at your goals and objectives
I
meeting.
vaguely remember, yes, I do remember that.
So, certainly, we would be happy to work with you on whatever protocol and timeline you would like to explore for having these conversations.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Good. Anything further? Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank
We
you, and
appreciate
thank you
it.
for your deliberation and your resounding support for libraries. This is
Absolutely.
still a very positive meeting, and I really appreciate
Oh, sure, absolutely.
the effort and the
Thank
questions
you.
Love
that
our
you asked.
library.
Yeah, we do love our library.
Thank you so much.
Here we go.
Thank you, Julianne.
Always an easy applause line to support the library, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, are there further comments from the any further public comment tonight? Anybody wanted to speak?
Not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda. Is there anything on, Brian, are you there tonight?
I am there, and there is no one online, thank you.
Okay, so next is approval of the minutes, is a consideration of the minutes, the regular meeting of April 22nd, 2024. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd.
Motion by the Mayor Pro Tem, support by Councilmember Jones.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure, whoever.
Jones,
sounds
did you have a comment? I saw a hand down there. That's
That was there, that was there.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Trent is the support
I saw
on
a
that.
hand. I wasn't.
The accurate hand is Trent, but it's,
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
yes.
Thank you. Next is approval of the consent agenda. First is a consideration to approve music in the park event. Next is a consideration to approve a 5-year renewal of the Amoresco Assets Sustainability Group contract for a total of $23,514. Next is a consideration to approve the fiscal year 2024-2025 DLZ Engineering Professional Stormwater Program Services Proposal in the amount of $20,000. And finally, consideration request from the City Council to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to submit a reimbursement request to Oakland County in the amount of $1,666.36 under the West Nile Virus Prevention Reimbursement Program. Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Yes, I would like to pull item B. I've got a question on item B.
Okay, so is there a motion for A, C, and D?
Sure, I can make a motion to approve A, C, and D.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Sage. Madam Clerk, the roll.
Vixen,
Yes?
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Okay, so for Amoresco, back in the fall of 2019, that's when we initially hired Amoresco. We paid $32,000. At the time, we had a different DPW director and a different city manager. So at the time, we talked about the fact that when this contract came up, we may or may not need to continue these services. Was there any discussion? Did we look at this?
Has Alex come up? Yes, we did. And we tried to limit the exposure. It's a good tool. We've been using the tool.
I do agree, we do use it.
And we appreciate, and Alex taking a yeoman's shot at keeping the cost down by doing as much as he could with Jason and the team. Everybody that had their hands in some item on that list, we tried to take care of that. And we update the information if we got a new roof. For today, if you noticed, thank Mark the painter. If you looked outside this building, all those panels that were rotted, and in one day, he fixed them all, painted them all. That will go into the Amoresco report, saying we've done that kind of work. So, if Alex, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so that yearly 4,000 and change is for housing all the data, backups, for calling and emailing with questions to help prepare any reports or just questions on anything. We'll say they've been very helpful with anything I've ever had questions on. It's super easy to work with. I think it's a great tool. It's a huge tool, but I think if we continue to use it since I've been here, I kind of took up the reins of that. It wasn't really used before I got here a whole lot, so I kind of cleaned it up a little bit and been trying my best to make sure it's up to date. And it's a great asset for, no pun intended, for making sure we're funding our capital assets appropriately.
So it's a subscription service, and if we cut it, we would lose access to our data?
Yes.
Yeah, and I can,
Well,
so,
I'm sure
go
we
ahead.
can, do a data dump to get all that, but it's gonna be in Excel files and we lose access to that user interface of all that.
And I think the most important thing, and I remember back when I first got here, we spent $2,300 on a tree survey. And what the goal was, if you didn't want to spend that much every year, you have to keep that spreadsheet up. And we didn't. And then we lost everything and it was useless. The key is we're keeping this database up and refreshing it so that it's relevant without having them do it. There's a bunch of formulas that kick it automatically. If it's a useful life for 35 years, the next year it's 34, right? So, but Alec's been monitoring that. And we've used that, as you know, in finance meetings, just to justify some of the things we're doing, or actually to prolong some things that we don't want to purchase, even though Amoresco says it's time to replace the windows here. We still have that flexibility where we can do what we wish. It's not if you do this, if you don't do this, you lose certification or something. It's a tool. So it's not 23,000 a year. It's only what 4,000 a year. So it seems like a very worthwhile investment to me.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Hauser.
Thank you. Alec, how often do you use this system?
I mean, whenever we do upgrades to buildings, anything like that, and I'm going in there and updating, and then, during budget season, we're going through and going each line item to make sure, okay, it's recommending this, we can push that back or move it forward. So, I mean, it's not an everyday thing.
Right. Besides you, is there anyone else who uses it at your department?
No, within my department, I usually have my people on my team email me whatever needs to be updated. I know we have other members in the city that have accounts. I don't know how often they use it. I think I'm pretty much the sole user of it.
So your staff reports to you and then you input that information?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Nothing for that.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia?
Yeah, so I know we did use this for the community house and other, building projects that we've looked at. So I really just wanted to ask the question, make sure we're still using it. The rates were exactly what we had expected. I went back and read the notes. So make a motion to approve the 5-year renewal of Amoresco.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia, support by Councilmember Jones. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you, Alec.
Thanks.
Mayor Bixen, I think we were going to have Kiwanis come up and talk since we just voted on the park.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Kiwanis have a speaker who wants to come up.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're talking about music in the park, so come on up. Identify yourself for the record and welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chuck Bissell. I'm the current president of the Rochester Kiwanis Club. And the music in the park is up to be approved. We were invited to come out, give a little explanation about the event and about Kiwanis. So I'll try to keep it condensed. But start with Kiwanis itself. Some people don't know too much about it, but Kiwanis is a nonprofit community service organization. And it's international. It's across 80 different countries. and there's a total of approximately 450,000 members around the globe. There's one thing that Kiwanis is kind of famous for is it has service groups at different levels by age. Big thing is everybody, a lot of people know about Key Club in high school. There's also Circle K at colleges. There's also groups at the middle school, and there's also a group for elementary school. And between that is the Kiwanis is I believe the largest community service group for youth in the country. One of the things that Kiwanis of Rochester does is our goal is to support children. Children in the world supporting children in the world is the big Kiwanis buzzword. And this last year we've helped foster children. We've helped in a number of ways in the community. One of the most well-known things that we're known for is Music in the Park. The first Music in the Park was actually in 1979, so we're coming up on the 45th Music in the Park. It's really a beautiful event to have in a beautiful park where people can come and just listen to music for free and enjoy being there with their friends and family. One thing I do want to mention that Kiwanis is actually, Detroit is actually the birthplace of Kiwanis. It actually began in 1915 in Detroit, and actually, if I don't know the exact street, but there's a historical plaque down near Greektown where the first meeting was. But anyway, the Kiwanis Music in the Park is something that we enjoy doing. It's something I think the community gets a lot of benefit from, and we just like to keep the tradition going for another 45 years. So we'll see about that. But anyway.
So have you gotten all the funding for?
What's that?
Have you gotten all the funding for Music in the Park this year?
We have funding coming in different directions. We're working on getting sponsorships. We could always use an additional sponsor. One issue that kind of not related to Music in the Park, but as with a lot of service clubs, we do need additional members to join. Or even if you don't want to join as a member, if we're looking, people might want to volunteer the nights of the event. We do have a concession stand in the Kiwanis Pavilion, and as part of the money that is needed, it comes from the sales at that of concessions, and so we have money also with the Rochester Area Community Foundation. Some money comes out of that, some money comes from sponsorships, and some money comes from the fundraising that the Kiwanis does. And it kind of changes a little bit each year.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so if someone wants to donate to sponsor, because you can sponsor an actual concert, right, for $500 for one, et cetera.
Right, the way we have the sponsorship set up is two levels, $500 or $1,000. $1,000, you're sponsoring the entire series, and your group name or business name is mentioned at each event. At $500, you're sponsoring one specific concert, and also the last concert of the year is always the Rochester Symphony Orchestra, and every sponsor we have gets mentioned on that event because that's the most heavily attended.
So if someone wants to donate, where would they go to find out more information to sponsor? And when do the concerts begin and end?
They begin on, I should have this memorized. It is June 13th. The concerts are going to be starting this year for the first time at 7 o'clock, from 7 to 8:30. And yes, June 13th, and the first concert will be dueling pianos.
Oh, that's good.
If you could contact anyone in the club, I've got some flyers that I could leave here that has an email to contact us.
That'd be great.
Or I believe the Community Foundation as well. You can
Sorry?
also, they can also contact the Community Foundation as well to make a donation.
Right, as long as it's specified towards.
Music in the park.
Music in the park.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Great event, too.
Mr. Mayor, he mentioned that they use the Kiwanis shelter for the snacks and things, so good news. So we put in a new water line, we're making the kitchen functional. Mark the painter said, I can handle this. Paint it Kiwanis green, keep it the same green, keep that character, and a new slab of concrete, clean it all up. And the 4 murals that are with the CBC that you'll see at your next meeting will go on the back of that. So we're going to give it some love. It's been a little tired for a few years, so.
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
that's wonderful. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, and thank you for what you do all these years.
There's no old business or table items. First, we have a public hearing, and the public hearing regarding the 2024 fiscal year budget. We, in our last meeting, we had a big presentation on it, so I think Nick has a couple comments before we open the public hearing, and then we will open the public hearing.
Absolutely. Council, again, we went through our process. Everybody got to see it on TV. People, our staff, everybody on both sides complimented each other numerous times because it was deserved on both ends. The effort that staff, working with council, precisely to come up with a balanced budget once again. And on top of that, the highlights of things that we're able to do with that balanced budget, starting with the zero-based budget, making sure that we took cognizant fact of nothing's taken for granted. And you are all very strong about that. And every year we start at the smallest level, the department heads meet with the finance team, go through every single line item in their budget. And then the department heads use their staff to analyze what we need to make adjustments, right? And then we come to council at our goals and objectives. We talk about fund balances, and we look at policies on every single fund balance we have, whether it's an enterprise fund or if it's our general fund. So extremely fiscally conservative and conscientious, in my opinion. So we said we wouldn't go through the whole thing again. Marcy's here to answer any detailed questions, but we would look for a public hearing this evening, and then based on what you find out, the opportunity to approve this year's fiscal budget.
Very good. So at 8:01, I'm going to open the public hearing. Are there any comments on the budget? Public hearing. If not, we'll close the public hearing at 8:02.
Good job.
Gotta be
Okay,
strong.
let's move it along, people.
Council.
You know, I'll go first. You know, as one of the newer members on city council, this was my first opportunity to really get involved in the budget process. And as I've, you know, said to other people, but also maybe to the public, this is something that goes on for several months. You know, in January, February, March, we're getting documents, we're reviewing the information, we're sitting together on Saturdays at the fire station and really having a deep dive into this process. And I can tell you the level of information that was provided to us by the city staff, Nick and Anthony and Marcy and Alec and the chiefs of the police and the fire, it's absolutely unbelievable, the level of detail, and more importantly, the accuracy, the level of information that we're provided in order for us to make an informed decision. It's a real testament as to the amount of work that they put into this, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And so for the residents who are out there wondering, how does this happen? It happens because the people over in that office, they're up those stairs, really do a phenomenal job making sure that every page is turned, every detail is covered, and we're provided with the most substantive information possible. So we've gone over the budget numerous times, and there's nothing in there that I found that would be objectionable to pass it, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood what a great job that staff did. So Nick, please buy him pizza for lunch on Friday, because they did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Councilmember Trent.
I will echo what Councilmember Hauser just said, and this is my second one, and I have to tell you, last year's was great, and this one, it was just phenomenal, the amount of detail that they had, and I, for us who don't live this isn't our job, they did a really good job of it, giving it to, at our level, to understand everything that we needed to know to make our decisions, so thank you very much to your staff and Nick Banda, City Manager Banda.
Councilmember Sage?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is my 12th one, and
Okay.
I got to tell you, it never grows old because of the support we get from city administration. We're able to make very good and informed decisions, and it's probably the primary job of why we get elected, is to make sure we have a 3-year running budget balanced budget. And it is a pleasure to do that. So, and I thank all the input that this dais provided during that discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Okay, I can go next. So, Councilmember Sage, I was going to say this is the best budget I've been through, but it's only my 7th budget. So
Oh, my
you got me beat, and we know the mayor's got us all beat. So it's the best one. You know, it is a bit anticlimactic after all the meetings we've been through. I looked at the sheet. I think it's about 14 subcommittee meetings and then 3, you know, almost full-day Saturday workshops. So a lot of work. Really appreciate all the work done by administration, Treasurer Maggio, Assistant Finance Director Marcy, City Manager, all the staff. Great work. And I'm really proud that this is a balanced multi-year budget. We have revenues of just over $17 million, $17.1 million, and that's higher by 3.6%. And we're spending less than that. We're spending $16.9 million. We do model out more than just that 1 year, and so the next 2 years are also balanced. And in the subcommittee work, we also look beyond there, and so things continue to look good. But it does start with that bottoms-up process where there is what I like to call positive tension, where there's a review of line items, there's pushback on, can we wait on that, can we not do it? And that's important. That's an important part of a good budget. At one of our workshops, we had about $6 million in asks that about 10% made this budget. So there are some other opportunities out there that we are still hoping to do in the future. We go through all the policies, we go through the fund balance. And so most importantly, what I want to say is, what do we get for all of this as residents? What do we get for this? Well, most importantly, there is no compromise on our essential services: police, fire, water, sewer, roads, the things that we all are very important to us, and we have very high service standards. So no compromise on that. We took great care of our employees. Our employees got pay raises. We have inflation here in Michigan. We got pay raises. We got some benefit improvements. So this is a real win for the city and the employees. But to me, what is by far the most exciting are the game-changing things that are coming to Rochester that are in this budget. There's 3 big game changers. We are updating the community house, long overdue, as you all know. We're improving it, we're making it maintenance-free, expanding it, community house. We're getting a skate park for our young people. They're gonna have a place to go. And we're getting the Graham, a year-round Eastern Market in downtown Rochester. So these are game-changing wins, and they're all included in this balanced budget. So I'm very excited about that. I will make a motion to approve the budget as presented. The resolution is in the packet with no change to our millage, which is 12.8497 mils. And I will also add, see you on May 20th to hear the mayor talk more about it at the State of the City.
So we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Salvia, support by Councilmember Trent.
Yep, I support it.
Further discussion? I'd just like to say again, thank you to the city staff for a great job. This budget was balanced. It was fiscally conservative. We keep our residents safe, and we continue to upgrade the infrastructure and services of our city. So I'm very proud of this budget, and I think it was a job well done that our residents should be very happy with. So on that, Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
you. The budget is
7-0.
adopted.
7-0.
Next, we have a public hearing and resolution to confirm the Special Assessment District for the PSD 2024-25.
Good evening, council.
Welcome.
Let me pull this one down. Pick ours back up. All right. Good evening, council. I know that I've been here a few times, talking about the PSD renewal in different pieces. So I thought tonight would be a great opportunity, since it is the public hearing, to put it all together, add a few more things based on, questions and concerns that have been raised to me by city administration as well as by, individual council members. So I'm hoping I'll hit everything tonight, but if not, of course, you can always ask me anything that you like. But, tonight, I'm excited to present our plan for the upcoming renewal. Hold on, just skip for me. So when I look at what we do downtown, I feel like there are so many groups that work together, and I can tell you there's so many that are not on here, like Rah-Rah and Raya and the Trailways and all that. But I really kind of wanted to talk about this from an economic development standpoint, because PSD feeds into that. And so with City Council as the leadership around our Rochester logo, but then you look at Planning Commission making those decisions for how our town is going to develop. The Historical Commission, maintaining those important historic assets so we never forget where we came from. City Beautiful, with all the great work that they're doing in the parks, in the downtown, and throughout our community to make sure that Rochester is a source of pride. DDA, of course, special to my heart because of all the economic development work that they do, also under the auspices of the Main Street America program and being a great American Main Street community. Zoning Board of Appeals, to make sure everybody's following the rules, doing what they need to do, and making sure that development can happen smartly. And then there's this little group called the PSD. Now, most people don't know what the PSD is. Who are they? But they know what we do. And so that's kind of what I wanted to get into tonight, is really give a little bit more of a snapshot of who the PSD is. A lot of people think that we're part of the DDA. That is somewhat true. We're housed in the same way. We used to have the same boundaries many years ago. At a certain point, that was changed, and that activated an unintended consequence of having a separate board. So then the PSD sort of emerged from the shadows, even though, as many people may know, or I'm looking at Stuart, the PSD started in 1994. Were you here?
94.
Okay, neither was I. So it started in 1994. The reason that Rochester has a PSD is because the DDA, which had started back in 1983, they actually were focused on streetscape. So putting in all the light poles that you see downtown and all the corner planters, all those kinds of things. That's what they were focusing on, is the streetscaping. And they had a little bit of money that they threw in so that they were able to do a few little events. At that point, when DDA started, lanyap was a thing and sidewalk sales were a thing. And that's about it. So in the early 90s, they put some money aside, working with the chamber. They put it into a fund there because the merchants were asking for some promotions and events to do downtown. And so working with the chamber, they tried to do a few things. They had something called the DPMP, which I think Marilyn was on, the Down Promotions and Marketing Partnership, back in the day. And what they found is that without having a staff person, without it being under an organization that was really dedicated to this project, it wasn't really getting anywhere. They weren't getting a lot of traction. And the merchants had come together and said to DDA, hey, we need more. We'd like to do more, but we need more money. And DDA at the time had all the bonds for everything that was happening downtown. They're working on facade and sign grant programs, so they didn't have the money to put into it, but they said, okay, if you want it, would you fund it? Property owners, businesses all got together and said, yes, we would fund it, because there was a act called Act 120, and that is the PSD law, so that it actually allows businesses, and in their case, it's actually property owners, that they can have a assessment, and is based on square footage, and it can be anywhere from a penny all the way up to who knows what you darn well want it to be. So that was something the DDA pursued, and then they started that in 1994. In 1994, they hired a full-time marketing person to work on that. Not me, but I came along in 1997 and have on and off been the steward of the PSD since that time. So I guess if you want a local expert on PSD things, I guess you're looking at her. So here we go. So what can a PSD do? It's a little bit different than the DDA, but this is actually from Act 120. It's to promote economic activity. This is something you hear me talking about a lot. Like I'll tell you all the time, and it's later in one of my slides, that what we do is economic development. It isn't just about events. It's about the trickle effect of bringing someone into the downtown and what happens once they're here. I always say once I bring someone to downtown, if they come here once, they'll come back, because we have a very special place, and I don't have to tell all of you that. So within the PSD, it has certain powers. They are not like a DDA, they can't do certain things, but they can do market research, they can do PR campaigns, they can do retail promotions, institutional promotions, they can sponsor things and related activities. So the idea behind a PSD back in the time when the DDA decided to establish one is they wanted another arm that was focusing on bringing people to the district and raising awareness of what Rochester had to offer, both from a business perspective and in many ways from a residential perspective, because the more people that live here, the more people use the downtown. The more people that want to have businesses here, the more reasons people would have to visit downtown. So it's all this circle of life, if you will. So how do we use the PSD? I'm the first one to tell you, and Nick is always happy to share, that when we go to National Main Street, he says that we punch above our weight class. We PSD a little differently here in Rochester because it's grown over the years. When I started here in 1997, they had dancing in the street, lanyap, and sidewalk sales. And they told me what they would really like is a winter festival, and they'd like a magazine. Hence, what became Fire and Ice. Would start out as an ordinary sale and ice sculpture show, and became Fire and Ice and the In-Town magazine that we still enjoy today. But as I got into the job and started figuring out what downtown really needed, meeting with the DPMP, meeting with all the property owners, it became very apparent to me that, like I said, we could bring people downtown once, but we needed something a little bit more. We needed to give them reasons to be thinking of Rochester, because Marilyn, it was perfect when we did that study and we were all excited. Why are people coming downtown? We wanted to know. And they said it was the post office and the library. Not a great thing to hear when you're trying to market a downtown as a destination, because they picked literally nothing downtown. But that was a wake-up call to us. So for us, then we started talking about, okay, how can we start to get the word out about Rochester, both from, as again, a residential standpoint, as a shopper and visitor standpoint, and as a business standpoint, because back in the 90s, downtown, we had still, in 1983, when the DDA started, it was about a 35% vacancy rate. We are now more in the 15s to 10s, but still not where we are today, which is at about, 2 to 3% at any given time. So we decided for the PSD, as we started building it out, that we needed to do more than events. So the way that it breaks down currently, and you look at our DDA budget, you'll see events and promotions, awareness building, and operations. I'm going to dig into the first two a little bit. So from our humble beginnings of having 3 events and a wish for a magazine and a ice festival, we now have all of these things that people enjoy. Just a couple that I'll highlight. The Farmers Market is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. If anyone came on opening day, it was rocking. Lanyap, of course, this year took a step up. It was our 50th last year. We will be closing Main Street again this year. But as you start to look at the things that are here, sidewalk sales, Dance in the Street, Lanyap are still here. And then we kept adding. And the way that we kept adding as the PSD went over the years is talking to the businesses, listening to our visitors, doing surveys, just hearing from people, what else are you looking for? What's really working for you? What's not? So then there are many things that aren't on this list of things that we do currently because they didn't make the cut. Over the years, we evaluate every year, as Nancy always likes to say, start with a zero-based budget, and we go up from there. We look at every single event. Is this working? Is it not? What's the purpose? Anything that you see up here and then on the next screen has to fit one of our 4 criteria. We do register ringing events, we do awareness events, we do fundraising, and we do fundraising. So any of these events, like Big Bright, clicks a lot of boxes, but they all have to click at least one box. And that's how we go forward. If they're not clicking any of those boxes, if we're hearing from the merchants that it's not really doing it for them, then we do something about it. If, like Deck Art, for instance, which wasn't one of our events, that originated with South Street Skate Shop and another gallery called Firebrick that used to be here where BC Boutique is currently, that became too big for them, and then they asked us if we would take it over. And as of this week, we had how many decks in the businesses, Jen? 327 businesses, or 327 decks. And how many businesses are participating in 50 different businesses. So again, Deck Art's a great example. If you look at an event like that, is it a register ringer? Not necessarily. We're inviting people to come down and find their decks, find their children's decks. But while they're downtown, a happy accident is then, oh, well, while we're here, I happen to pop into the shop. Oh, I've never been in the store before where my deck is. That's amazing. Or, wow, since we're down here, let's get a bite to eat. So that's what we try to do with every event that we have. It isn't just one note. We always try to figure out, okay, how does this impact everything? So then we can't event and promotion every day. It's a lot. And I think that our community become fatigued by every weekend. Just like I always hear everyone talking here that you don't want events every weekend in the park because you want to enjoy their park. Same thing downtown. I don't think anyone wants events every weekend because then how does our community enjoy our downtown? So then we do other things like our Foodie February, the magazine. Rochester Explorers Club, which is a great example where people can go in the stores, find something new, but it's all about creating this picture, this place. That everything that we do, we're not asking you to come down here and spend money. We're asking you to come down here and spend time. Julianne mentioned third place. I would argue that downtown is everyone's third place. Library's fine, but I'll go with that. But you'll notice some things as it has been evolving, that there's a lot more art here than has ever been here before. This is something that we heard from the community in general. They really wanted to see more art, and so we're trying to support that throughout. Our holiday gift card, BOGO, that is something that we started doing during COVID, but it survived that because that event, within an hour and a half, we sell $30,000 in downtown gift certificates that are then reinvested into the downtown businesses. It's a lot. And that's just for that moment in time. We actually sell over $100,000 in gift certificates every year. That money is administered through the PSD. It goes out into the businesses, promotions about the gift certificates, all of that. Social media channels, of course, that was a game changer for marketing back in the day. So we have our downtown page, we have our Love Local Rochester, which started during COVID. But all of these things that I'm listing, the downtown texting service, the business directory, our website, that hand in hand with all the events and promotions we do, provides a 365, 24/7 marketing and awareness campaign for Rochester. There is not any moment of the day that you couldn't find something out there about Rochester that we are actively broadcasting or that you passively come across when you're scrolling online. And that was the goal, because back in the day, those 3 events they started with, the 4 plus a magazine that I started with, that wasn't going to sustain our downtown. And that's how the PSD started growing. And like I said, every year we reevaluate and add and subtract. So one of the things, and I mentioned this at holiday time, if anybody watched the DDA meeting, I apologize for the repeat, but something that I take personal pride in is that Rochester, again, using Nick Banda's statement that we punch above our weight class, these are the publications that we were featured in during the month of December. When I say featured, I don't mean that we bought an ad. I mean that these people sought us out and put us on lists like the most magical main street in Michigan, or the 7 most dog-friendly towns in America. Parade magazine featured us as one of the 51 cutest holiday destinations in the world. We were right before Paris. How does that even work? But okay, I'll take it. But the biggest one that we had was the Wall Street Journal.
Yes.
If anyone didn't see this, I don't know how, because I shared the ever-living heck out of it for days. The small town that turned Christmas lights into an economic miracle. That's our town. That ran on Christmas Eve on wallstreetjournal.com. It is still the most read article in the history of wallstreetjournal.com for the month of December.
Wow, that's good.
Wow. The reason they wrote about us was because of the lights and how we took something simple as a Christmas light and made it economic development. The reason they found out about us is because they called Main Street America, which is the parent group where we got our Great American Main Street Award. I actually just got back from a conference last week, which was super amazing. And they called over there to one of the vice presidents of development and said, hey, we're looking for a small town that is bucking the trend. We're looking for a small town that still is bringing in independent businesses, that people are still in-person shopping. And Matt Wagner from Main Street America said, call Christy, because they knew what we did. How did they know what we do? It isn't because we bought an ad. It isn't because I called Matt and told him. It's because he sees it. Everyone sees it because we are out there. People know us. When I walk around the conference, We're the Christmas light people, and I'm okay with it, because in its core, it's economic development. If you Google Wall Street Journal and Big Bright Light Show, you will find this ad. I highly recommend it, and the pictures are phenomenal. And it was very rainy, as you can see from that night. This is actually Kringle weekend. So, but that's just an example of where we've gotten to. So, where we are is with the current PSD rate structure, just going back through, anyone doesn't know how the assessment works, we do it for so many years. We've done it for as little as 2, we've done it for as many as 5. This assessment that we did in 2019 happened to be for 5. The rate range was anywhere from 19 cents to 30 cents a square foot. Now, this breaks down into 4 rate categories, because we absolutely agree that people that are, for instance, to Lulabelle, first floor Main Street, is gonna get more benefit than Andy Appleby, who owns General Sports, which is on the 2nd floor of the knitting mill. They get different benefit, so they pay different rates. So Main Street first floor is going to pay more than someone who's on a 2nd floor, 3 blocks off of Main Street. We acknowledge that, but it's all the monies coming together that then make everything happen. Also, there's an assessment cap. It is in the statute that if you have a large building, we'll use the hotel for an example. It would be ridiculous to have them pay per square foot, because that's a big property. So they cap it that the max any property can be assessed is $10,000, and which is incredibly fair. So we've been working with the assessment cap back and forth. So with our new assessment, we're looking for a 3-year assessment. Now, let me go back a little bit. So in 2019, obviously, none of us saw 2020 coming. So going for a 5-year renewal that year ended up being probably not our best play. Because as everyone knows, even up to this moment, everything costs more. And so when we were in the middle of the assessment, come 2020, and everything happened, and we were out with our merchants asking them virtually, how can we help? And they said money. So the DDA went ahead and stepped up, and they paid the PSD for 2020. So out of this past 4-year assessment, they only paid, 5-year assessment, they only paid 4 years. 2020 was paid by the DDA because they recognized that even though we were going to have to event and promote differently, we needed that money so that we could keep the downtown going. And as anyone who can look at our downtown that was here in 2020, you can see the work that was done, the massive pivots that happened, that money was well spent. Had we not had the PSD, who knows what we would have done or where we would have ended up. But going in, so if you look at it now as we're coming up to this 3-year assessment, picture it maybe as a 5% increase in 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. Because I know everyone's looking and saying, why is it 25%? It's a lot of different things, but the biggest factor is that the tent that I rented in 2019 now costs me 30 to 40% more. Same tent. Big Bright Light Show, because it has a provision in it that has a 3% increase over time. So 3% since 2019. Do the math, here we go. So it all just started coming together, and that's where we ended up here. So the assessment cap, we'd like to raise it up to the 10,000, that is the max, so we won't be asking for that again. The increase is gonna be anywhere from 5 cents to 9 cents, depending on where people are in the district. So for instance, if you look at Main Street, 2,000 is about the average square foot of a space downtown, whether it's an upstairs office or it's a Main Street business. So within that range, people are gonna have an increase per 1,000 square feet of 60 to 90. So if you look at 2,000, that's telling you then it's about $120 to $180 a year. So anywhere from $10 to $18 a month is what the increase is going to be. And then in subsequent years 2 and 3, we're looking at a 10% increase. Now, how do people pay this? So it's different depending on the property owner you talk to. Many property owners roll it into their rent that they charge their tenant, and that's how it works. Many, like my landlord, he hands us our assessment separately, prorated for his tenants in the building, and then we pay our percentage and we pay it separately. So he never touches it, we're not repaying him, we pay it on our own. Or there are some property owners that are old school and they just figure it's a cost of doing business and they just write the check and it never reaches the business owner. It is a mix of all 3 of those all over town. So when we say that this is going to, when you look at the small business, I try to break it down by the square footage, but a lot of times it is really hitting the tenant, not hitting the tenant, but actually hitting the property owner. And then how they choose to assess it is completely up to them. So this is something I presented last time, but I feel like this is probably one of the more important slides that you're going to see up here. Because the money that we receive, we leverage. So for instance, starting with sidewalk sales, we spend about $3,500 presenting that event to the community, but we garner $10,000 in sponsorship for that event. So you can see that, okay, so then that gives me $6,500 extra. That $6,500 now can go into dancing in the street. Because dancing in the street costs $11,000 for us to put on, but we're able to get $2,500 in sponsorships to offset. So it's this tightrope that we walk where we balance that some things bring in more, some things bring in less, but using the money that we have as a springboard, then we fundraise, we co-op advertise, we find every little way possible to make a buck, to make the money work. So with the exception of Taste of Fall and Foodie February, which those budgets keep going down each year because we're doing less and less printed pieces, and those were programs that were out of COVID that people still seem to enjoy, so we're still doing them. But if you look at everything that we have there, other than those two, we have a fundraising component with every single one. We don't ask for any additional money that we don't need. We're trying to be as economical as possible. We start with zero base and we go up. So just to give you a sense of where we are right now. So the current PSD assessment that we're asking for would garner about $409,000 for the PSD. We raise over $250,000, $264,000 using that 409. So that's about a 64% return on investment. I don't know about anybody else's investments. I'm not getting 65% on anything these days. But we're consistently using that 409, and then we are able to generate another 264 on top of it. Then the DDA contributes $200,000 specifically to offset the cost of the light show. So if you look at that, between what the DDA puts in and what the PSD is able to raise at the 264, between the DDA and the fundraising, we are still paying more than half of what we spend. So the 409, that's all the businesses together. And then the fundraising and the DDA contribution is just the PSD and the DDA. So if you look at even the total budget for the whole thing, the PSD is still only covering about 42% of it. And the rest is covered by fundraising and the DDA's contribution. We are very cautious. Trust me, when we started working numbers with Anthony and Marcy, the last thing I wanted to do is come here and say, I need 25%. I hated that. We agonized over it over 3 different meetings. But when it came down to it, cutting here, cutting there, trying to figure out how to make it all work, this was the right call because it's going to set us up for it's going to cover our current expenses. It's going to set us up for success in the future. So I don't have to come back to you again and say, oopsie doopsie. We didn't really know what we were thinking. Inflation, this, that, whatever. This will get us to exactly where we need to go. Another thing that I wanted to point out, because there seems to be a lot of sense that retailers are the primary beneficiaries of what we do. With all the co-op advertising and sponsorships that I mentioned, these are the people that support us the most. 2 of them are outside of downtown, Fox and Genesis. But if you look at the others, Chief Financial Credit Union, the Linda Ray Team Real Estate One, Modet's Funeral Homes, Proactive IV, Rochester Laser Center Med Spa, Rochester Mills Beer Company, and Rochester Orthodontics. Do you notice anything about any of those businesses?
Yeah, they're not.
None of them are retailers. None of them are in the core Main Street that we identify from Second to University. They pay their PSD and then they pay on top of it because they see value in the other programs that we do and they want to support everything that we do. And 2 of the people up there, Chief Financial and Fox Automotive, support us in addition to what Chief pays for their PSD. They support us in a 5-figure way annually. So it goes across several of our events. We're very proud of these relationships. There are a ton more that aren't up here, but these are our largest program supporters. And it's not because I'm bringing their registers, because we are creating a place that is easy for them to find employees, that is easy for them to find customers, that they know that they have at any given time anywhere from a free market opportunity to a paid opportunity to take advantage of everything that we have to offer and that we built over the years. I'd also like to mention that when they started the PSD back in 1994, they had 1 full-time person and then the receptionist became a half-time person working on that. We now have 2.5 people working on that same program. That took me 3 slides to show you all the work they're doing. 2.5 people versus 1.5 people 26 years ago. If that isn't showing that we know how to use our money and we use it every which way we can before we ask for more, I don't know what will. So, what are the outcomes? If this PSD renewal is approved, what are we gonna get out of this? Obviously, number one, we're going to address our inflationary increases. This is something we've talked about ad nauseum. Expand our event favorites. I know a lot of people here have been asking for Kris Kringle to be expanded. And that is something that we, if this goes through, we are absolutely intending to do. We're already working with the police chief and the fire chief to figure out a way that we can do it safely and wrap the event over onto Walnut. Our reimagined farmers market, Councilmember Salvia mentioned that's one of the big things that's coming, the market and the Graham. Well, if we want to have this great place, we have to have money to program it. Otherwise, why are we building it? So the PSD is already taking into account that programming is going to need to happen. So we need to be ready to do that. Business recruitment and retention. One of my favorite stories that I love to tell is during the second year of the Big Bright Light Show, I got a call from a boutique in Ferndale that said, hey, I saw Rochester on TV last holiday season. I never thought of Rochester for a second location, but I'm thinking about it now. And I could replicate that call over and over for the first 5 to 10 years of the show. Hey, I had no idea. You guys have paved roads out there? We sure do. What do you know? But people, it made people think about Rochester in a way they hadn't before. And also from a retention standpoint, I'll be the first person to tell you, ask any of my businesses that are in the Big Bright Zone, they will tell you that they make 30 to 40% of their year the days the show is aglow. That is a powerful statement. And that is due to the work of the PSD and everything that they've been doing. The Big Bright Light Show is not inexpensive to produce, but my goodness, the return on investment of that promotion has been innumerable. It's amazing, and it does so much to bring people to our community. Speaking of which, talent attraction. You hear it all the time. People are choosing where they want to live, and then they're finding a job. And I can't tell you how many people tell me they want to move here, and then they'll figure out what they're going to do. But they love this town, what we've all built. That first slide I showed with all the groups and so many more that make our downtown the special place that it is. But the PSD has been working behind the scenes for years, being that little engine that could, keeping us out there, putting all those little fun nuggets out there to get people to come here. And now we have the downtown that we have, that people want to be here because they love our neighborhoods, they love our downtown, and that synergy is working. And then those people are looking for jobs, and more importantly, they're opening businesses here. Many of the recent businesses that are opened here are people that live here or recently moved back here from living in the area, knowing that they always wanted to invest in their downtown, and they will come in and tell us, you guys do more for any downtown than I've ever seen, and that's why we want to be here. And then last but not least, placemaking. People want to love where they live. I can't tell you how, when I think about what I do and the pleasure and the honor that I have to do it, if people ask me, and this happened at the conference I was at, Christy, why are you still there? I said, well, because they put up with me, but also it's because of the smiles on faces. Those memory-making moments that we've been able to put together over these years, that people have this special place in their heart for Rochester. And to be a part of that, and the way that we do it, I think is fair, I think is equitable, and I think it's just pretty darn great, because we're able to create moments like this. Last line up. That was a night, if anybody was down there, I'm just getting misty thinking about it. This was the night when you looked at us and said, yeah, that's my Rochester. These are my people. I walked through that crowd. Fun fact, I have never actually been out there when the switch has been flipped. I'm usually the switch flipper, even back in the day when we had walkie-talkies and we were flipping 4 different switches around town to make the light show go on. This was the first year, because it's 50th of Lanyap. Jenna said, I will flip the switch, you go out in the crowd. And so I was taking pictures, and to hear people, they were so happy. And I looked and said, we did this. We, City Council, Planning Commission, DDA, Historical Commission, Raya, Library, everybody that contributes to what happens in Rochester, we did this. And I think it's pretty darned amazing. And we'd love to be able to continue to do things like that. Questions?
So do you have questions for Christie, or then we can, if not, why don't we open the public hearing, get other comments, and then council will discuss.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Councilmember King, you had a comment or a question?
Thank you, and thank you for everything that you do. Great presentation, but all of the events too, just phenomenal what you and your team were able to accomplish.
Thank you.
I did have a couple questions. We had the our budget that we just approved, and in here, I just want to understand, because there was a proposed budget for 25, 26, 27, aligning with our 3-year. Did this incorporate that kind of planned?
Yes.
Numbers? Okay, because I was seeing like the budget change year over year, it looked like was only 4.3% from 24 to 25, but maybe
I'm calling Marcy up, hang on.
maybe I'm looking at that wrong. So I just wanted to see how that tied to the, proposed increase.
That's 25%.
She's making her work.
Is that?
The number that is in the budget is slightly more conservative than what is presented here, because we don't collect everything that we send out a bill for. So we have a slightly more conservative number in the budget that you approved. Just tonight, you have a revised packet in front of you, because we get feedback from the businesses, and there was a slight error on the commercial part of the square footage of one of the parcels. So we modified that. It was $154 down from the original numbers. So that's before you. But we want a conservative number, because we know we won't get everything that we bill for.
You know, we bill fully, just some people, some go unpaid.
Everything that gets approved will get a bill sent to it. Not everything gets paid.
Ms.
Councilman King, you good?
So the one other thing, I know we did get an email from a business owner.
Yeah, he'll probably talk.
All right, I'll wait then.
Well, I'm happy to answer
I have
questions.
one question.
No, I'll let them go ahead and then ask questions later.
Councilmember Hauser?
Just a quick question. Christie, I see the number for July of '24 through June 30 of '25. It's 409,297. Can you tell me what that number is for July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024?
I have my budget in front of me. I think, Marcy, you have your budget?
I think it would be the total minus the,
Yeah, I don't, that's on my desk.
you want the 23 number?
Yeah, do you have it?
But it'd be 25% less
Right.
Yeah.
323,000?
for the capture, so yeah, about 323,000. Yeah.
So if I understand it correctly, right now you're capturing 323,000. And if this goes forward, it would jump up to $409,000.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And then if you look at the total budget, it does show also the fundraising currently and the
Right.
DDA contribution currently as well, so it gets it to our full budget.
And I've got one more question. Could you go back to the slide that had the list of events, and it also had the cost and the revenue?
You had it.
Yeah, right there. I want to make sure I understand this correctly. So let's pick a couple line items here, Winter Magazine and Spring Magazine.
Yep.
If I read this correctly, it costs $37,500 for each issue. And it only brings in $13,500, is that?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we use it, so if you look at that, then that's telling you that we spend an additional 24,000, or, yeah, about 24,000 on it, because then that offers us the opportunity to have free gift guide advertising for the downtown businesses.
Okay.
We use that for event advertising, we sell advertising, we fulfill sponsorship agreements with ads, things like that. So not everything, as you can see there, is going to be 100% revenue generator, but what I will say is any place that we sell ads or sponsorships, we already did an increase of anywhere from 15 to 25%
Sure.
on those, this past year, because that's something we could affect change on.
And one other question, and I'm sorry for my ignorance here. What is the annual awareness program?
So that is our Channel 7 campaign that we do at the holiday season.
Okay.
So that runs November through
Right.
December, it's online.
Lisa does those, right?
What's that?
Lisa is the.
Lisa
yeah.
does the ones just that air on Lanyap, so we have the live cut-ins on Lanyap that actually is a co-op that the merchants can pay for. And then the rest of it is for the ongoing campaign, both online, on social, and on broadcast that run from late November all the way through the month of December, promoting Rochester as a shopping destination.
Thank you very much for that explanation.
Yeah, of course.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia?
Thank you. I'm not sure if you're going to have this number off the top of your head, but you mentioned rents. Rent is one of the highest increases when we talk about inflation. Rents have gone up a lot, which means probably rents in downtown Rochester have gone up a lot. Do you have any numbers you could speak to, maybe over the past few years, what rents have gone up, like on a percentage basis?
Sure. So I can tell you honestly, a lot of my property owners, as a matter of fact, this is happening right now with Donna Burgoyne from 4th Street Boutique, that she is retiring and selling her business. And she told me that her landlord, her rent has stayed the same for the last 10 years, and her landlord is not increasing her rent with the new tenant. So there's a lot of different philosophies downtown. I'll get to the numbers in a second, but there are many of the larger property owners that would rather have a solid tenant than jack their rates up and take a year and a half to find a tenant that may or may not stay. So if you go to some people downtown, they'll tell you, my rent hasn't gone up in 7 years, because they have a landlord that wants to keep them there. Now, if you look at a new building, for instance, or an old building that has been renewed, so Molnar's Tuxedo, which is now Hello Fancy Boutique, an amazing restoration on that building. That building, before it was restored, I mean, Nick, what would you think that was per square foot, in like 15?
The most.
At the most. He was able to ask for 28 a square foot, triple net, going out from there. So it really depends on the space. So you hear, as you talk to different property owners, they have different perspectives on what they're doing. But I would say overall, the rents downtown, they've creeped up a little bit just because our property value has been more desirable and there aren't a lot of spaces that are available. But we're still on Main Street, anywhere from 19 to up to 28, 29. Side streets, more like anywhere from 15 to 20, depending on the quality of the space, which from 2019 to now is about, I'm looking at Nick, maybe about a 5 to 10% increase in rent, not even 10. So really, we haven't seen, other than a new space that comes available, it's the new hotness, it's had a lot of money invested in it, those ones are going up higher. But generally speaking, no, we're not seeing a lot of rent trending up downtown.
Okay. Question, Councilmember Trent?
Yes, yes, phenomenal job. I've been there since 2000, whatever. I've seen it all. You guys do, just that alone is testament to what you do. But also that you are fundraising a lot, and that is a testament to additional hard work that you do. I guess my point is that if you got into a space where you couldn't do as much fundraising, you would have to cut back, even though if this was passed, I mean, it's pressure to continue to give this high level of marketing and promotions and events and all the online social media and the PR.
Yeah, we never know what, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
But I will say that we have formed a lot of great, strong relationship over the years, that if one of our major sponsors does fall out, we do have options behind.
Okay, because what was it, 234, what was the amount you had at?
264.
264,
is what we're raising.
yeah, okay.
Annually.
Councilmember Jones?
So just a quick question. So this budget was built assuming this would be passed?
Correct, that's what we needed to turn in, was something that would fit with what we're asking for, because our last assessment went out in July 1 of last year, so we currently will not be funded until July 1 again.
Okay, that's it?
Okay, I think we will open the public hearing. So at 8:47, we're gonna open the public hearing. Mr. Justin, Paul, come on up. You gotta come, Paul, you gotta come up to the mic. You gotta give your, name and address, even though I know where you live.
It is Rochester.
I'm Paul Clark. I live at 709 Lydica and Cedar Brook, and I'm a fairly new resident in this community. Very impressed with the data that was presented tonight. It's very educational. But I do have one very elementary question, if you'll pardon me. What does PDS stand for?
PSD.
Principal Shopping District.
Principal Shopping District.
I didn't name it, it's a statement.
PSD, whatever. Okay, thank you very much. It should have been in one of your presentations.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Paul.
My name is Bob Justin. I'm at 280 Mill Street in Rochester. I'm here to ask the City Council to exclude two parcels from the PSD. It's 280 Mill and 92 Mill. Mill Street, for those who aren't familiar with it, is, if you know where First Street is, it's west of Walnut, east of Walnut is Mill Street, runs under the bridge, and then comes up by the fire station. We're not, we were excluded last time from the PSD for the reasons that we don't, the businesses located in my buildings don't benefit directly from the PSD. As was laid out, principally it's retail activity, people that can come in and buy something or take advantage of the service at the location. In 280 Mill Street, we do software development. No one since I've been in that building since 2006, I've never had anybody walk off the street and come in from an interest in whatever we do. Most of our business is done with other businesses, particularly in the automotive industry. We also have a real estate developer, and he's never had anybody wander in. In fact, doors are always locked, so
Maybe he needs to unlock them.
he doesn't want their business, okay? He's doing something else. The kind of people that walk in are somebody off the street looking to use the bathroom, and so he prefers to.
But we're taking care of that problem too.
Okay, we're
The
good.
Graham, right?
The other building has a school real estate, or school architect business, and so their business is really not open to the general public, it's again the business. And then there's some mortgage company whose primarily business is with other realtors. In talking with them, they've not had anybody wander in. Most all of it comes directly from their contacts with the realtors, and that's who they spend their time soliciting and trying to get to know to get their business. The state law says that, this is not, Christie does a great job, and she gets a lot of people downtown, and the retail people benefit from it, and there's no doubt about it in my mind, and she does an absolutely outstanding job. My group of folks don't really interact with this. We're on a side street. Our biggest participation is probably on the night that the lights go on in downtown Rochester. Our parking lot just packed. But other than that, we don't see a whole lot of activity. And if you look at the list of things that the group does, it's primarily focused on a human being coming down and spending money and taking the benefit and walking away with either the product they bought or the service they received. And that's the intent of the law. Originally, when the malls started coming into existence, downtowns were starting to deteriorate, and they didn't have the same ability as the malls do to have a collection of effort to bring retail activity downtown or to that group. And they passed that law, and if you've seen my presentation, you reference where it's at. But the good thing about it is that they said in that law, if the group there's a presumption you benefit from it, but it's a rebuttable presumption. And the last time we were here, we rebutted that presumption, and we're asking that we be rebutted again this time, and that we not be included in the principal shopping district. I'd entertain any questions that anybody has.
Hey, well, when we close the public hearing, then I guess we'll talk about that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Trevor Giannetti, representing two parcels for exclusion, 318 and 316 Walnut. We are the Masonic Lodge, the Temple Association of Rochester. We don't have anything to gain, not necessarily. You do a great job, just like you said. I come down with my kids, but the temple is not really open for public during those times. In fact, we often reschedule our meetings during those times. Lanyap is one of our big ones. We always had a meeting during Lanyap. As that's grown, our parking lot is inaccessible, which is okay. We're not complaining. So we reschedule for that, knowing full well that the people of Rochester need to have somewhere to go and something to do. I'm just going to give you guys a little history, though, on the temple and like the masons that have been in Rochester here. So we were formed in 1828 in the Rochester area. 1859, we moved to Rochester from an outside parcel. In 1960, we moved to 318, 316, 318 Walnut. We have a double lot. And in 2013, we celebrated 185 years in this city, in the city of Rochester. In 2024, it's 196 years. So in 4 years, we'll be a bicentennial group, which is a really cool thing for us. I know we don't have a lot of interactions with the city. We're working to change that. In the past, though, you know, we actually, this year, we've got our first scholarship fund for Rochester students. So we opened that up. We had our first one. We had a meeting about that and finally decided on one. It's not a lot of money to start off with, but we're looking to make that a larger sum. We work with a lot of outside charity groups. We donate a lot of our own funds, which I tell you guys, we operate on a very, very small budget. I don't think we could pay for any of these things, just so you know. I mean, it's a very small budget. The assessment that we received is actually a sizable amount of our OI. So, and I'm on the board of directors. We got the president here, I'm secretary. I've been on there for 7 years, and nothing has changed for us. We don't increase our rent to our tenants, which are the 2 Masonic lodges that actually inhabit the building. We've worked with the Wounded Warrior program and a couple other programs to create some fly fishing experiences for Army veterans. And we were approached to be considered for the Historic Building Association of Rochester. We had to decline because we can't afford to keep the building up to the historic code, unfortunately. So with that in mind, I would, please, if you will, exclude us from that, the very nice things that Christine does. I don't think we can afford to do that, but any questions I will take at the end as well. So thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further public comments? Mr. Haig, welcome.
My name's Paul Haig, Haig Jewelers in Rochester. I just have to say that the PSD and the DDA have done amazing things for Rochester. And I have no problem paying whatever I need to pay. It's so much cheaper than hiring a company to do that kind of publication and publicity. And they have really, you know something, they make every cent spend well. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, we will close the public hearing at 8:56.
We do have one additional in-writing protest received from MAR Properties located at 101 South Main Street.
Thank you. Did everybody get that? Or?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's placed at your spots this evening.
Okay, so the public hearing is closed, so council, why don't we first take up the rate increase and what people think about that. Council.
I'll bite first. So, yeah.
Councilmember Hauser.
Sure. So everyone agrees, Christy and your team do a phenomenal job. And I appreciate that costs have gone up, and I understand that each year things get more expensive. We deal with it personally, we deal with it professionally. I've gotten a couple emails though saying, hey, I'm willing, and I want to pay more, and I'm certainly willing to do that, but can we ratchet it down from 25% to something a little bit more manageable for them? And I get it. Mr. Haig, you said it's worth every penny, and I think everyone agrees, but it is a hit. And that's why I asked that number was, 323,000 to 409, that's another $86,000, and it's, listen, the numbers are the numbers, and I'm looking on here and I'm saying, okay, is there something we could maybe cut out, or is there something we could tweak? And it's none of my business to stick my nose into what stays and what doesn't. But I'm trying to find a balance there. And I guess, Christy, I would ask, is there a number, I'm not trying to get you to bid against yourself, but could you do it for 15%? Could you do it for 10? I mean, is there something, could you still make it work even if you didn't get that full 25%? Because I want to figure out a solution that gets everyone, a little bit what they
No,
need.
and I understand that.
Yeah.
I guess what I would say is this, obviously whatever we end up with, we're going to figure out. But the challenge that we have at the program that we have currently, that we go zero base, it's not a matter of can we do it, it's a matter of things will be gone.
Right.
It will not be a matter of, well, okay, we'll take 1,000 off this, 1,000, we've already done that.
Yeah.
We've already done that work. So if you decide that you want to take it down right now it's 25%, that every 1,000 we take off is, or every percentage we take off is 1,000? Is that right?
Oh, yeah, that would be right.
So every percentage we take off is $1,000. So if you wanna take it down to 20, that's 5,000, but then it just keeps going. So I guess it just becomes, if everyone's good with understanding that unfortunately, some things are gonna have to go. At a certain point, because as Marilyn said so eloquently, I can't fundraise my way out of this.
Yeah,
We're already
no.
fundraising $264,000.
Yeah, I know.
That's not the option, so the only other option is cut. We've already cut all the budgets down to bare, so now it's cut programs.
Right.
I trust, as I said, I wouldn't ask you for 25%. I've never, in the 25 years I've been with the city, one for every year, have ever asked for an increase like that. I would never ask this council if I didn't need it. It's the best I can say.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Joe.
If I could just add, with 3 people, when health insurance goes up and benefits go up and get more expensive, it is impactful. So there is a true cost for a very small staff. And when the prices for, you know, the very small team that you have, the very small but powerful team that you have, we have to make sure we can support the programming that this city has an expectation of. So I'm just gonna.
And I have no control over that. So that I can't cut, so then programming has to go.
And I get it, and I know you guys, and I'm the biggest supporter of you and your team and the DDA, everyone does a great job. I'm just trying to find a balance between the emails that I've been getting.
Councilmember Jones.
I will build off of Councilmember Hauser's comment. I've had several businesses downtown. A 45% increase in 3 years is substantial. And so I kind of agree with that 25%, 10 and 10 is too high. And what can we do to manage that?
Councilmember Sage.
I was going to ask a similar question. I don't know, are they arbitrary numbers? 25, 10, 10, okay?
They're not arbitrary. Actually, I didn't create those numbers. Those came from the finance department of the city. That's what we needed to continue on doing the programming that we're doing at this level. That's what we needed. These were not my numbers.
Part of the
These came from
presentation
city.
indicated that you're going to enhance the programs, so that would be in conflict to actually maintaining them.
It wouldn't
correct?
actually, because, for instance, Chris Kringle Market, we're able to increase our revenue because we're able to round the corner and add more booths. So that one is actually gonna make us some money. Then we can take that money and put it into something else. Our budget is very much a rob Peter to pay Paul kind of situation, I guess is the best way to put it. Everything goes this way, that way, but then while it's not on this budget currently, we're gonna need to program the Graham. It's not on that budget.
So I guess
So we're trying to
I'll ask
plan
a
for going forward.
I'll ask a follow-up.
Yeah.
So the contribution from the DDA to the PSD, is that capped at 200,000?
That would be a question for the DDA, not for me.
Okay.
And that would be a question for the DDA, so, yeah.
So I'll take so if we're looking for compromises here, maybe throw out 15% with no increase in the last 2 years, something like that.
Can I just,
Councilmember King?
can you clarify, if I remember correctly, over the past from 19 to 23, you did not do any increase, and there was 1 year where the DDA paid it
Correct.
and the businesses did not.
Correct, that is correct.
I know, like, if you look at inflation over that time period, it's been significant. I think last year alone was 11%. I frankly don't think the 25% is that unreasonable. I haven't had any businesses reach out to me personally, though, so I can't, speak for them. But I think when you look at what the history has been and the costs that have incurred and an incredible job that your team has been able to do with the funding as well as the fundraising, it seems like money well spent, but I understand that there
And we
may
really
be
do want
others.
to not have a flat, because we got into that issue with the 5-year assessment, where we didn't have an increase, but we had runaway inflation over that course of time that you're referring to. We're not anticipating that inflation's gonna go back down dramatically. We are not. We shouldn't budget according to something that isn't a realistic expectation. So we really did put a lot of effort, just like with the city budget, into the DDA and the PSD budget. So, if, that's my 2 cents on that.
Councilmember Trent?
Yes, I know the incredible work that you guys do. We've talked about that, and I have gotten some people to contact me about the increase, and I would like a compromise, but I would like it to still go up the second and third year compromise. I would be for that.
Councilmember Housen?
So, to that point, I was just doing some math. So the total's 45%. Is it unreasonable to think, okay, let's do 15, 15, 15? That way we don't hit everyone with that 25 right out of the gate, and they can at least plan. They know what's going up, but maybe that 0 to 25 isn't so abrupt. And we can figure out, I mean, at the end, you'll still get your money, which is what you need and what we want to give you, but maybe I'm trying to find some common ground here.
Yeah, I think we'd have to make some hard decisions in this year, but I think that is a practical strategy going forward. And I think, like you said, it gives everybody a little bit of what they want.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So my comment on that is it's still 45% in 3 years, which is what I was contacted about by business owners. 45% in 3 years, no matter how you slice it, is a lot.
It is.
And I'm just being a good steward of the businesses downtown that have contacted me.
So if I might just add one more thing. When you're talking 15% or 45% of 2 cents on the dollar, it sounds like a lot. It really does, percentage-wise. But when you put it into the actual cents per square foot, it's far less shocking. But at a percent level, 100%. Agree with you, but when you actually, look at the dollar figure, it is less painful to swallow, so.
I think you showed someone would have a $60 to $90 increase. Is that right?
So we're saying for every 1,000 square foot, it's gonna go up $60 to $90, depending on if you're in the key district, like Main Street, first floor, all the way out to, a side street, second floor kind of business. So yeah, so for a 2,000 square foot space, which is the average size of space downtown, it's gonna it'd be, at the 25%, it's anywhere from $120 a year to $180 a year. So basically $10 a month to $18 a month is what we're talking about.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Okay, so one more comment on the percentages. So we are talking about an 8-year runway, because there was no increase for 5 years, and then we're talking about 45. So it's really 6% per year over an 8-year period. I mean, and I think Assistant Finance Director Marcy's comments on dollars versus percentage in this case are relevant. And so I guess I would be looking for some sort of compromise that gets us to a starting point for this year, since, quite frankly, council, we just approved this budget. So that number's in our numbers, so I would look in the future years.
Councilmember Trent?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not sure I understood
So what she's
that.
saying, it's already in the budget.
So do the 25% and then figure out the next 2 years.
Right.
Okay.
But here's another thing is, 5 years ago, when we passed this, there was a big increase from that. There was like a 25% increase.
There was no, it was 10%, wasn't it? It was 10%. In 2019, it was 10%. We've never done it.
From 18 to 19.
No, from 18 to 19, which would have been from 24? No, I'm sorry, from 16?
No, 16.
From 16 to 19, it was a 10%. And then 19, it was flat. After that, for the last 5 years, for 4 years, it was flat, and 1 year it went unpaid because the DDA took it.
Councilmember Jones?
I guess I'm confused why it would already have, we just approved a budget with this in here, but we are just discussing it tonight.
Well, that was a placeholder, I guess.
Yeah, we had to
Correct,
turn
Nick?
in a budget that reflected what we were going for.
So-
So that's what we had to do. It's not to say that, obviously, budget amendments can't be made, but that's how the cadence went for us to do this, because we were supposed to be in front of you in April, but then when everything got backed up with the Graham and the market, everything kind of got shifted, and so that's how we ended up here.
Okay,
Because
makes sense.
the last agenda was, as you remember, so robust.
Right.
Having this presentation that night, everyone felt like it wouldn't have gotten
Okay.
its fair
thanks.
share, so that's how we
Makes
got
sense.
pushed to
Yeah.
here. Yes.
Councilmember Trent?
Just to be the devil's advocate a bit, so to add to the gram, that is adding, meaning you're not getting any more bench depth to manage and program that. So it would almost be like you'd have to, I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day. I think you guys are working 12 of them. I don't know if you want to ask Jenna or Taylor to put in another 5 a day.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I honestly am concerned about that, truly.
Yeah, for sure, and that's a
And-
conversation too to be had with DDA, if there's gonna be any funding that goes back to, is that the most that the DDA is willing to give? We haven't had that discussion, because we haven't even closed on the building yet, so we're not quite there. That discussion
get
will be
it.
had
I
at some
understand.
point,
Okay.
so not that I'm trying to go any one way or the other, and not that I don't love this, and Mary Sue's gonna probably shoot me for saying it, but here we go. Since the year one's already in the budget, what about a 1-year assessment to get us over the humps, and then we'll know what DDA's doing, we'll know what we need for the gram, and then we can get runway.
We support that.
Oh, okay, I thought you were gonna have
Yeah,
that.
I would support that.
I would support that.
I would support that.
So it's 25%.
And
1 year.
We're just agreeing for the 1 year.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 1-year PSD assessment. So that will be the 409,297.
Is there support for that?
Well, hang on, let me reread the proposal, because doesn't it mention a 3-year?
Right, so just a 1 year is what my motion is for the 1 year. So it would be flat at this point in time for year 2 and year 3, so 26 and 27.
And then we would revisit the DDA
And then we'll-
With the
yeah.
DDA
Yeah,
contribution
we'll
and the
have,
grant.
once we close on the building, then everything we can start falling into place. We're so close, but we're not there.
Do we need to address, it sounds like, do we need to address some of these requests?
Well, after we,
That's
okay,
after.
After we
Get
Okay.
through this, it's only 9:10.
so was there a second?
Not yet.
There's a case, so
Support.
there's a support by Councilmember King. Discussion on this. Councilmember Trent.
Just to reiterate, I do wish that these will all be prioritized and assessed, and, I mean, I'm not running your place, but just make sure, or clone a couple of these young women that you work with.
That'd be a new
There's
line item.
AI, right?
Yeah, there's AI.
New line item.
Just to say, I do understand that that is adding more on, and I thought of that when you were thinking of when you were going to start programming grant, or maybe some of the stuff moves over there, so anyway.
Yeah.
Your Honor, could I clarify the motion, please? Because I'm hearing two different things. I'm hearing approve 1 year, just 1 year, but then I heard someone say flat for 2 or 3. That's not, we're not approving a 3-year, we're approving the 1 year and then revisit it after the 1 year.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Yes, the 1 year.
Okay.
25%.
So we have that motion. I'll just say, again, we support this. I cannot support a 25% increase, so I will not support this. Further discussion?
I'm going to support this with the understanding 2 things. One is, obviously, you guys will come back in years 2 and 3, but I'd also like to see if there's any way to trim some of that stuff up, and just, again, I'm just looking at the big numbers here, that awareness thing. We're spending $34,000, we get $4,000 back. That's $30,000 right there that we're subsidizing something else. And I mean, just a basic pure economics, I'm like, gosh, is there something we can do to fix it? But I appreciate everything you guys are doing, so I'm gonna support this with the understanding that come next year, let's take a real deep dive and sharpen our pencils.
Councilmember Sage?
So we do this on occasion, where we kick it down the road to revisit it in successive years. And some of that gets lost. So I think I would like to reconsider the motion and make it a more palatable one time. If we're going to truly do this to where we have to then revisit it every year, I don't want it to get lost. So I would be more comfortable with a manageable increase on the merchants myself. And where that falls, whether it's 10 or 15%, I could live with the revisiting, but I caution all of us on that, because some of that gets lost.
Your Honor, on a point of order, the motion that's made would have to be voted on, as is.
Before we could take Mr. Sage's revisions. Okay.
Okay. Madam,
Yeah, I will
Pro
just
Tem
say, as the maker of the motion, I tend to agree with you, Councilmember Sage. However, because of the Graham and the situation and thinking about dollars, there's a lot more dollars on the DDA side than the PSD, so I think there's a bigger opportunity to shuffle a bit, but we've got to get through the Graham. So, but I do agree with you. I like smoothing things for business owners, and things get lost, so that's all I'm going to say.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
No.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
No.
Trent.
Yes.
Very good. It passes.
Thank you, Council.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now to the request for the property values. Mr. City Manager, did you want to comment on that?
I do. So if there's a process. So if they want to opt out of a couple ways. If they have to hold their place by protesting, they can go to the Michigan Tax Tribunal to sell their case. We would go and argue against that to say, Mr. Justin, love you, he knows that your employees and the people that live on your second and third floors get the benefit. You don't pay anything for those 2 floors because they're residential. The people that come to that real estate gentleman's office, they might come and eat here, and they might know about Rochester because of it. So an argument, and Ann got, is one of the ones that complained or asked for not to be in it. They're on Main Street. Their employees park in our free lots, and they go to lunch every single day down here. And then they stay after and go. It's the building owner, so I'm glad I get to say this. So you all got phone calls. There is hundreds of businesses that are paying this right now. Where are they? They're not, and these gentlemen did not even complain about the rate. They just don't think they get a benefit. So what about the people that aren't here to say, the people that don't show up and say, hey, thanks for charging me? Don't lose that fact that if you all got 10, that's not even a tenth of all the businesses in town that think this is a good idea. Just have to say that. But so we would argue that offices do have benefit from this. I understand proximity. That's why you pay the smallest amount of money. Mr. Justin's property pays the smallest amount that's possible. And he has tenants in there. He doesn't know if they use it or not. So we would argue that we don't just give in and say to the tax tribunal, you win. We go and try to explain to the tribunal folks, this is why we do. We have many offices downtown. Vito Pampalona didn't argue about this. He still doesn't, and he's in the district. So that would be my 2 cents.
So I guess I need clarification then. So he seems to indicate then too that his parcels have been excluded.
Right.
So did he go through the tribunal process?
So I asked Marcy that this morning, and the fact is, it appears that Mill Street was missed in this last go-around on setting the properties, so nobody paid on Mill Street. We went through every single, Christine, Anthony, and Marcy spent 3 days going over every parcel to make sure we could justify who's in and who's out. So they lucked out, I'm sorry to say, that they didn't have to pay because it got missed somehow. Now, unless you know something different, but.
You need to come up here, please.
Yeah.
I protested it 5 years ago, and the city council voted to exclude it. I've got my records here if anybody needs to see it. But yeah, I protested it 5 years ago. They said, yep, you didn't get any benefit. That's material basis. I mean, we're talking about one building's proposed, according to the letter, was $3,200 assessment, and the other one's around $1,500. So, but I won't belabor it.
Thank you. Councilmember Jones?
I'm confused about the process. So we don't make this decision as the city council, it goes in front of
Jeff
the
can answer,
tribunal?
yeah. There's 2 ways to do it, so.
Okay.
So city council has the ability to remove properties from the district, or from the assessment, not district, from the assessment. If it feels that a particular property, it's not appropriate to have the assessment apply to that property. If city council took no action to remove, then what happens is, then anybody who has protested the assessment would have the opportunity to have their, I guess, their appeal right at the Michigan Tax Tribunal. It's a small claims, it's small claims division of the tax tribunal. It doesn't cost the property owner anything to do that, except time and effort. But there is a potential remedy. I can say that after the 2019, there were a couple protests and none went to the Michigan Tax Tribunal. Since I've been here 16 years, I think there's been just maybe two. I think two or maybe three at the tops in 16 years that have actually gone that route. But that is a remedy, so City Council has the ability to grant that request or to not, but if City Council does not, they are not without potential remedy.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia.
Thank you. So my comment on whether we decide to exclude or waive a business owner on this or not goes back to the benefit that property owners receive from being in our downtown. It's not being part of the PSD gets you retail traffic if you have a software company. It's the fact that your property values are strong and your property values continue to be strong because everyone wants to come here and live here and do business here. So I don't see a reason to exclude someone because it's a slippery slope. This is the approved map, and my thought is we stay with the map.
Mr. Mayor, I have a quick question, clarification for City Attorney. Just to be clear, if no action is taken, it would automatically go to the tax tribunal. Is that correct?
No.
Or do we all have to vote no?
They'd have
No.
to protest.
No,
They'd have to
so
protest, right.
you don't have to take any action. You can
Okay.
just say thank you for your protest and not remove them. That would be the only affirmative action you would need to take. If you do not do that, then those who have protested have the opportunity to initiate the appeal.
All right, so in that sense, I would agree with Councilwoman Salvia that I feel there is a benefit. I feel they do indirectly receive, the benefit from all the work that the PSD does, so I would not move to exclude them, or any applicant for that matter.
Mr. Mayor, for the Masons, it seems more logical, but we rent their lot from them. We pay them to rent their lot, so we don't have to do that. They could just put a fence up and say you can't go there, but they enter into agreement with us that we are paying them to use that lot, so just to be fair.
Councilmember Trent.
Yes, this is a question that comes up, and I've been on the DDA since 2007, and I do understand this question, and I feel for the people who say we are service. We don't really benefit, but my company is a service, and we've been on Second Street since 2007, and I do feel I benefit, and people work for me because I'm in the downtown, and it's a vibrant downtown, and that's why I've gotten younger. I'm a creative company. I get younger, more vibrant, innovative people because of our vibrant downtown. So it is a slippery slope. If we also, I have that as point number 2, becomes a slippery slope when you start saying, okay, this one, not that one, and what's the criteria? We'll be here till 3 in the morning or more, and then we'll do it again. So I would agree with
Mr. City Attorney?
And also, I guess for information's sake, I know that years and years ago when we had somebody appeal, I talked to Christie and say, help me out, what is the benefit that these particular property? And one of the things Christie said to me back then, which kind of stuck to me, is people don't think they're getting a benefit. All they have to do is ask, and we will figure out a way to benefit. And they don't always get the knowledge of, I'm in an office building downtown. One of the reasons, I feel it's important. But also, a lot of office buildings, that seems to be one of those that people are like, is that really a business, benefit? One of the things that they've done is they advertise space that's available. And I think that's one of the things Christie had said before was, if anyone felt like they didn't have a benefit for being in the PSD, they could ask their team, and I'm sure they would figure out a way to do that. And I think she's made herself open. I'm not a policymaker. I just give that information.
Okay, so, Mr. City Manager, we don't need to take any action then?
If you don't, then the rule stays as presented.
Okay, so that's going to stay the same.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Could I ask, essentially for the record, then, the Councilman Sylvia and Councilman Trent, the reasons they gave, are those the reasons that the council is not proceeding?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, city council doesn't have to give a reason. They can just decide not to take action. Because I think what Mr. Justin is attempting to do is set up his appeal, which be, city council doesn't have to give their litany of reasons for it. They decided not to take it from there. So I would say that unless city council is prepared to spend the time and go through any possible reason that they may have, you're not required to do so.
Even though the statute says you're supposed to have a reason for denying the request.
Which they did, which they felt you had a benefit.
Okay, that's good. But the benefit's been stated, so thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, on to reports and regular business is a consideration of award the mill and fill on East Third Street to Bowen Paving Inc. in the amount of $29,879.
I'm just going to make a motion on that one. I reviewed the details. This is, make the motion to approve this to Bowen Paving, who's done work in the city in the past, for the amount of $29,879.
Support.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Saleh, support by Councilmember Sage. Discussion, Mr. Alec.
I did apply for the LRIP funding for the county for this section, so there's a possibility that number could be reduced by 50% too.
Oh, excellent.
15 or 50?
50%.
Go, Alec.
With that program, it has to be roads that have economic benefit to improving them, so usually downtown roads.
Very good, thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen.
Yes.
Salvia.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is consideration of award the sanitary and storm sewer cut repair project to Stata Underground for a total of $242,843.43.
So a public bid opening was held on April 4th for project to repair damaged areas of sanitary and storm sewer. Lowest bidder was Strata Underground at $220,766.75. A 10% contingency is being recommended by our engineering firm, AEW Engineering. This is a kind of a continuation of a project we did last summer, which is where we used the CIPP liners to line sections of damaged sanitary and storm sewers. This project here would be for areas where they're damaged more in a way where we can't line them, so it requires an open cut strategy to repair them. So staff's requesting that City Council award this to Strata Underground with a 10% contingency for a total of $242,843.43. And then there's a map in your packet showing the locations of all this repair work.
Yep.
And this is contained within our current budget? Very good.
Yes, we've been discussing this at
Yes.
infrastructure meetings before.
I'll make a motion to support the sanitary and storm sewer open cut repair and the bid amount of $242,843.43.
Motion by Councilmember Sage.
I'll support.
Support by Councilmember Trent. Madam Clerk, the roll.
Vixen.
Yes.
Salvia.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Next is consideration to approve a quote from Peerless Midwest Inc. for $24,562.90 to rebuild high service pump number 2 at the water treatment plant.
And then actually it asked to have this postponed or moved to the next agenda. Excuse me. This was the initial plan that was budgeted for this year, but after very recent further exploration into that pump, we're actually thinking it might need to be totally replaced. So we're still investigating that and should hopefully have more information by the next meeting. So this was the initial plan that was budgeted for this year, but I'm asking to postpone it to a future meeting.
Very good.
Sounds good. We will table this to a further meeting that DPW Director directs us to. Okay, next is a consideration to approve the purchase of the trackless municipal tractor, MT7, which we've discussed.
Yeah.
With the 6 attachments listed from Bell Equipment for a total of $273,170.
Yep, so this is something we've discussed in past budget meetings. I hope you guys had a chance to click that link and watch the trailer. It's pretty cool. Kind of this Public Works Swiss Army knife. It's definitely a
All
piece of
year round?
equipment that I would like to get more of in the future. I think it could really enhance our total operations. In my memo, I listed out some of the pieces of equipment that we would be able to sell with the purchase of this new equipment. And then there's also some pictures of kind of the current equipment we've been using for leaf pickup in the fall. So on page 95, that white piece of equipment is one of the items that we'd be able to sell in replacement of this.
So this is a new piece of equipment that we've never had here in town, in the city. So will this machine be named?
It's a Sage mobile.
The Sage Mobile.
driveway.
Is that a plea for a motion, Mr. Sage?
Yeah.
It is a motion.
Councilmember Sage.
It is.
Support by Councilmember Hauser. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. We look forward to that.
And then the naming?
We all get
You
a
might have
ride.
to,
We all get a ride.
No.
Sponsor.
We need a name. We need a name.
Or something.
We all want to ride on it or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Next is consideration to approve the purchase of 3 police vehicles in the amount of $134,110. Chief Rohab, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Yeah, we're doing good.
Hope everybody had a great Mother's Day. I'm here today to accept, or basically to propose that you approve the purchase of 3 police vehicles. We are not adding on to our fleet. We are just replacing 3 older vehicles. We're going in accordance to our vehicle replacement plan, our equipment scorecard, and also these 3 vehicles are budgeted for this year's budget. There would be 2 Chevy Tahoes from Fox Chevrolet in the amount of $116,110, and 1 Harley Davidson motorcycle, 2024, from Wolverine Harley Davidson for $18,000. And we're hoping with the sale of the 3 vehicles that we will, guesstimating about $28,000 to $30,000 we'll receive from those, and then we'll put it back into our equipment fund.
Councilmember Jones.
I want to thank you for pulling together additional information for us since
No problem.
I think I sent the email at 4 o'clock. and
Yes.
So, kudos on doing that. And truly, my question was based in citizens that have mentioned the fleet and how many and all that
Yeah.
good stuff. So this is excellent
very
information to have.
I can explain it more if you'd like.
Yeah, the only question I would have is, and I love that you listed the further information on, with the different vehicles, who drives them, what they're used for.
Yes.
The 9 vehicles that are assigned to road patrol, would they ever be out at the same time? Because do you have 9 officers ever on it? How does that work?
We work 12-hour shifts here, so typically, on an average day, we have 3 police officers working, sometimes 4 during the day shift. Sometimes we have more, depending on the schedule. You don't want to keep using the same cars 24 hours a day. And keep in mind, I would say average 2 to 3 vehicles are in for maintenance each week. For other tires, we have 1 in there, 1 today with a bad radiator, that'll probably be out of service for 3 days. So we like to mix the vehicles up, rotate them. You get better wear and tear that way. And plus, when you have 20-some officers driving, everyone has a different driving pattern or habit. They may turn the corners differently, brake differently, so it just puts extra wear and tear. So we just like to rotate them in the fleet. In my opinion, doing this for a while, we have 10 vehicles assigned to the road. 1 is specifically for the K-9. I think that is a sufficient number of vehicles.
Thank you.
Use the same vehicle each day.
Is there further comments from Councilmember Hauser?
Chief, how you doing?
Good, how are you, sir?
Good. I've got just a quick question for the replacement of the motorcycle, the 2018. It says mileage is 32,000 on the second page, on the memo that you provided us.
That should be, and I did this at 4 o'clock.
That's okay. No, I get it.
Our officers have them in Washington DC right now.
I get it.
The actual mileage was what was on that
Oh, the other page.
The other, the
Was
other
it
one.
the 61?
26,500.
It's 20-some, 26,
26,000,
27,000, something like
right,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and one thing about the Harley Davidson, they're
Right.
giving us the motorcycle $600 above their cost. If we go to sell our old Harley, we probably would get $11,000 for it, so it's really costing us probably about $1,000 a year to have a motorcycle. And it's a great PR tool.
All right, so just to be clear, the one that we've got, this 2018, the intent is to sell that, right?
Correct,
For about
yes.
$11,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Trent?
Yeah, I was looking at the grading system that you have, like
Yes.
in bad condition and then needs to be replaced to satisfactory. I saw, where is that? But the one that stood out was the Road King being replaced by this motorcycle that has 26,000 miles on it. And that, and I'm not a Harley Davidson driver, but, right, I know it may seem like I was, but I'm not. So, but if I had one and it had 26,000 miles on it, and I thinking I had a motorcycle was gonna last a long time.
Yeah, motorcycles are a little bit different. Once you start approaching 30,000 miles, that's a lot of miles for a motorcycle. I kind of treat vehicles like dog years, especially like police vehicles. Your vehicle may have 50,000 miles on it, ours may have 60 or 70, but in essence, it's like 120,000 from the beating it gets. So we do spend a lot of money here. You see the bills that come in for maintenance of all of the vehicles, and for the most part, we do a good job in keeping them maintained. And some of these vehicles, honestly, they probably should have been replaced a while ago, but, you know, we try to push them as much as we can.
Yeah,
But
some
once
of
we
them
start
are, so-
investing a lot of money in maintenance, it's time to go.
So, okay, and I don't understand all this, so I know you work hard doing this and you've got experience at this, thank goodness. But you've got two motorcycles. I guess I need to understand of what do two motorcycles do that one wouldn't and that maybe a car couldn't do?
Well, the motorcycles, number one, is a great PR tool. We use them for traffic enforcement. You'll see the motorcycles in the spring and summer, actually sometimes in the late fall, on the road all the time. Saves money on gas. I mean, the gas mileage is a lot better than a regular vehicle. Yes, you are more vulnerable on a motorcycle, however,
Yeah, more dangerous.
you can sneak in little areas when you're running radar. They have radars on them. We can sit in people's driveways, and, yeah, we use them. I mean, this is the first department I've been to where we use the motorcycles as much as we do. Especially, it's nice in a community like this where it's, the majority is residential. We don't have any freeways to patrol or anything like that, so it's a lot more safe.
Well, what would be the downside of saying, okay, it's satisfactory to get to the next level, maybe next year, to just put it on hold and then go, okay, well, we got two vehicles we're replacing, which are pretty big, big ticket items.
I mean, the only other downsides would be, there may be a chance we may have to be investing more money in it, or the cost of the motorcycle itself may go up. That's the only downside.
I think I'd also point out to your earlier point, its resale value is greatest now,
Yes.
whereas you wait a year, and we would then, any offset we have to this purchase could get cut in half. So we'd go from 11,000 to 5,000 in recuperation. I don't want to take that risk.
Yeah,
These are all based on a maintenance cycle.
Yes.
On usage, be it both miles and how it's used. So I think all this data has been proven out for many, many years. And we have a revolving fund for these type of vehicles. And it goes through a process based on that, and I think that's why they do the ratings. So I feel very comfortable in replacing the vehicles.
Councilmember
Sorry.
King?
I'm just looking at some of like the mileage on here, and I know they're police vehicles versus just, recreational user vehicles. Although, we have 3.2 square mile city, so I know it's not big distances. But like, we have some new vehicles, 23, 22, that have incredibly low mileage.
Yes.
And even the ones that we're proposing to eliminate, my car has, far more than this, and it's a 2017, and, it's pretty reliable. I have little issues here and there. I certainly want our, police staff to be safe. I question kind of the mileage, and does our rating scale need to be updated? Are cars, lasting longer, being more safe for longer, able to run longer? Is that something that should be revisited? And I don't know all the economics behind, the maintenance costs and, what we can get for selling them, and maybe this is the matrix and this is how it works out best financially. I just kind of.
Yeah, the nice thing about this is, first of all, used car sales are through the roof. And typically, we keep vehicles about 5 years. 50,000 miles is the number we start looking at replacing them. And what's nice is we're getting these vehicles at governmental pricing. So we're saving a lot of money there. We can use the vehicle for 5 years, and then when we go sell it, we're almost getting top dollar, and then we're reinvesting that money back into the program again. So virtually, we're spending a few $100s a month per vehicle. In my opinion, I'm used to leasing police fleets. You keep them 5 years, and you're almost getting what you paid for them, and then you reinvest the money back into the system, and it just keeps going. You always have a new car, and you're not losing any money. This is the same scenario. We're getting governmental pricing for the vehicles. We're getting top dollar. We just sold a patrol car. It was a Dodge Charger. I think it was 8 years old with 70,000 miles, and the transmission was slipping. We got $10,000 for it. And I couldn't believe we got $10,000, but we did. And I think we're gonna get some good money for these vehicles. But like for the one detective vehicle, that's a 2012. It's time to go, and I think we'll get some good money for it. So.
Councilmember Hauser? Quick question, and Chief, thanks for that explanation, because again, I had some concerns initially. I was like, wait a second, this seems to be pretty low mileage here, the motorcycle, et cetera, but based on what you're saying about the resale value, and it's kind of, it is a significant offset to that cost, does that money, any surplus or any offset, how does that work for budgetary reasons? Does that go back into your account, or how does that work?
Yes.
Revolving equipment back, okay.
We reinvest it back into the account.
That's way under what we need in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councilmember King?
Do we have an estimate, kind of for the 3 vehicles, what we think we'll recapture into the revolving fund?
I projected about 20 to 30,000.
It's on there. It's on there. It's on there.
It was on there.
It was on
Was on there,
Yeah.
okay. I overlooked that.
That's
Thank
okay,
you.
no, that's fine.
Councilmember Sage?
So there's another neat thing too about a patrol car, we'll call it that, in service. That car doesn't shut down. When it's in service, it's running 24/7. So that's why there is a benefit to having additional vehicles in the fleet, because would you run your car 24 hours a day? No, none of us would, but a police car does. So that's why there are these, you have to look at certain mileage factors and how much maintenance has been done on the vehicle, because it has been running in its service different than our personal vehicles.
Councilmember Jones?
Yeah, our cars idle a lot. They do, and keep in mind too, we don't have freeways in town, so really the top speed for a police vehicle all day is 25, 30, 35 miles an hour all day for years. That's not good for your car either, so. But, for the most part, we do our best to keep them in the best shape. And,
Councilmember Jones?
happy with it.
So this is already in this year's budget
Yes.
that we're sitting in right now. You've already brought, so that's good. And then for next year, a couple of these are older. Have you already projected that some of these next year then will need replacement in your budget for next
We
year?
have a vehicle replacement schedule, so every year we look at it and see what vehicles will be replaced. From looking at this sheet, it appears that at least, I say about two patrol vehicles will be replaced next budget.
So you would have accounted for that in your budget for next year?
That's next
A
year.
placeholder for those? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Trent?
Just a maybe obvious question, and I know you have the answer, so you were talking about, it's 25, 30 miles an hour. You're not, this is a small town. So do these vehicles, I mean, usually that is more wear and tear on a vehicle than,
Yeah.
and so they don't probably last as long as if you were going down 59
Correct.
a lot.
And they idle
70.
a lot. And a lot of people think that your vehicle's warranted for or specific mileage. It's the running hours of the engine. I just learned this a couple of years ago. We had an engine blow in one of the police cars. The car had 20,000 miles on it, but the running time was astronomical. Therefore, the engine wasn't under warranty. So that's why we preach to the officers, do not leave your cars running when you're in the station typing for 3 hours. It's just not a good habit, so
Oh, no, and so do they just go up and down 59 every once in a while? Like,
we may
I don't know,
have to.
just a thought.
Mayor Pro Tem
Blow the carbon out?
Thank you. I just want to say that I support our process that we have in place to review our vehicles and to replace our vehicles. It seems like it's working. It seems like we're getting good value and providing good vehicles for our police department. I am going to abstain from the vote on this since my husband works for one of the automakers, and occasionally they question me getting a discount on a vehicle because I'm one of 7 that can vote on these, so I think it's best to disclose that conflict and step out.
Thank you.
Councilmember Sage, is there a motion out there?
Oh, there is.
Oh, there is, I'm sure.
I would like to make a motion for the purchase of the 3 vehicles, or is it 2 vehicles? For 134, 3 vehicles, 131,578. And the only thing I would add before we get the second on that motion, Chief, take a look at some leasing options for next year. I know we've kind of fought that here, but I think it's getting time to where it might make sense for us to start the transition.
I have to interrupt for 1 minute. I think you gave the wrong amount.
134, 110.
Oh.
I just want to make sure that we're.
Oh, yep, 134,110.
Okay.
Very good.
Is there support?
I support.
Councilmember Jones. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Go ahead.
I recognize,
Take the vote and then we'll do it.
oh, she has to get approval before they can vote.
If I could suggest an intervening motion, Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia has requested to abstain. That typically takes an approval vote for that reason. It's a valid reason for her doing it, but just to have a clean record, I think it would be appropriate to have a motion.
I will support
You'll make a
Madam
motion?
Salvia. Motion
Jen?
to, so a motion by Councilmember Sage to allow Mayor Pro Tem Salvia to abstain. Support by Councilmember Hauser. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Do I vote
Yeah.
on it?
you vote on this.
Yes?
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Thank you. Now,
Thank
Madam
you.
Clerk, the roll on this one. We're not done with you yet, Chief. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia, abstain, Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Thank you, Chief. And Mayor Pro Tem Salvia, your discount is, I think that maybe needs to be split among 7 people, 1 or 6, but. Okay, next we have a request to set a public hearing regarding a proposed ordinance amendment for rental property. Section, yeah, maybe we can turn the heat up, if that's what people.
I finally got there working the.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So a proposed ordinance amendment for the rental property that we've talked about in this meeting. We talked about it and it passed in the planning commission meeting. This is simply to set a public hearing to go forward with this. So is there
A motion to set.
a motion by Councilmember King, support by Councilmember Hauser?
That's correct.
Okay,
What's
discussion.
the date of the public hearing?
Yeah, so what is the date?
So, right, so on the next 2 items, we're just setting public hearings, even for the zoning. A couple council people have called and said, I'm not going to be at a certain meeting. I think these 2 items, of all of them, need to have all 7 of us here. So, Mayor, if there's a way to, do we know who's not going to be here for the June?
24th would be the next.
The 24th of June would be the next time we could have these meetings.
So
I'm here.
Is anybody not going to be here the
I'm just gonna
24th?
double check right now, Mr. Banner.
We can't do June 10th? Or that was some,
It's not.
We don't have
30
enough time to
days.
advertise it.
Yeah,
So June 24th.
I will be here.
I will be here.
I keep an old-fashioned calendar at home, but I think I'm gonna be here.
And the refrigerator and the magnet.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
gonna say I'm gonna be here, yeah.
So let's shoot for the
So
24th.
until, unless otherwise noted, we will have the public hearing on the 24th.
Right.
Okay.
No, I'll be here.
For
Motion and support, but yes,
motion.
the date.
June 24th.
Yeah.
Someone make a motion?
Oh, you
Yeah,
have to make a
King and
motion.
then Hauser, second.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, for a couple of people in the audience, can you just explain what will happen on June 24th, if that's okay? Or
Mr. City Attorney.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll just quickly, so procedurally, what will happen is there's two different ordinances. One is to the zoning code, and that's to talk about what districts it could go into, and one is in the regular
We
code.
haven't gotten to that
We're on
yet.
the rental.
We're just talking about the rental one.
No, that's what he's talking
That's what I'm
about.
talking about.
There's
The
two
short-term
explanations.
rental. Yep. So there's two ordinances, and so because one of them is a zoning ordinance, it has to have a public hearing, noticed 15 days in the newspaper, so forth. So that's why that needs to be set for a public hearing. If it was just the code, city council could take action for first reading and introduction tonight. But since they're related, just you'd move both of them forward. The zoning ordinance is the one that needs the public hearing. So there's no, I mean, city council can take comment, but most of the time for public hearing, especially on something like this, most people would recognize that the more robust opportunity would be at the public hearing. That doesn't prevent someone from talking tonight if they would wish, but they would have the opportunity in June 24.
Very good. Everybody, Councilmember Hauser.
And then at June 24th, the public hearing, or public comment would take place, and then after that, we would vote as a board whether to approve or correct.
To move it for first reading and introduction, if
Okay.
that's appropriate, and then at the next one, then it would be considered for second reading and adoption.
Okay, so can you give me and anyone in the public kind of like a time frame as to when the earliest this short-term rental issue would be up for a final up and down vote?
So if the public hearing is the 24th, and let's say that you conduct the public hearing, you move it for first reading and introduction at that meeting.
Yep.
Then at your July 8th meeting, then you can, if you want to proceed at that point, then it would be second reading and introduction at,
And then it gets published. So that's how many more days?
yeah, and then there's a published.
Public hearing is the main meeting.
Right.
We're
Yep.
going to discuss
Yes.
this, which
Yep.
is the 24th of June.
Yes.
Right.
So it'd be the 24th, and then at least one more if you streamline it.
Streamline, okay. So July 8th, potentially this could be where thumbs up, thumbs down.
Correct.
That's correct.
Right.
And then it goes to the paper.
Then it has
so
to be
it's 10
Then
more
it goes to
days.
papers.
Published, and then.
Into July.
End of July, okay,
Yes.
there you go. Okay, thank you for your answer.
Madam Clerk, the roll?
Bigson,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. To be continued. Next is a request to set a public hearing for 704 Woodward Paint Creek Townhouses Project Rezoning Request. Mr. City Manager, we were going to have Vidya here to talk a little bit about zoning, but Vidya is unable to be here. And again, we are just setting a public hearing for this, which would be the same day, the 24th.
Yep, very good.
And we will invite everybody again, not way past the 3:50, just like we did at the Planning Commission. It was a great give and take, and we want them to come back and have their say a second time.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Thank you. I do wish Vidya could have been here. I would like to have administration give us, to council, just really a simplified, what the ask is, why this is coming before council, what is the zoning change, just really CJ and run. Simple, simple, simple as possible. That's my new expression. Everything's got to be CJ and run, and people probably don't even know what CJ and run is. Like, that book is so old, like, people probably don't even know.
The good news is, we did that with the Planning Commission, so we have that, so I'll get that out this
But
week in
I
the
watched
manager's
that and I
report.
read that, and it needs to be
There's still some.
a bit simpler.
Oh, okay. We can do that.
Yep. Thank
Okay.
you. So I'd make a motion to set the public hearing for 704 Woodward on June 24th.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Salvia, support by Councilmember Sage. So we will have that, and then we will have also the applicant who's here today will also give their presentation. So if there's questions for the applicant, and then there'll be a public hearing, and
Video will do exactly
Video.
that
Right.
there also.
and I promise we will be out before midnight.
So,
Yeah.
it's-
Councilmember Trent.
Are you
That's how
gonna-
long the
is it-
planning commission,
so
for
you had-
anybody who missed that.
So, Mayor, you had Vixen, you had a support, so is this open for discussion, or how
Yes.
does this move? Okay, so just because I am saying move it to public comment is because I do want to hear from the public. This has gone through a lot of iterations. This has been some conflicts and then some resolutions. And I know that the architect has been through several iterations. But having said that, and how appreciative I am of the creative process and changes, I would like to say that just because I'm saying move it to the public,
Absolutely.
that I would say it's a bit packed for me. There's no sidewalks, there's no green space, it's not family-friendly. And that's why I want to hear from the public. I want to know what they think, because it's more than my opinion.
All we're doing tonight is voting to move it to a public hearing.
That's why I want to make sure that I didn't want to say anything else.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. We will see everybody on the June 24th.
All right.
Okay, next is mayor nominations to the boards and commissions. So I'm going to go through the list here. And people can think about it, and we can do it at the next meeting, or however people want to do it. So first, the Brownfield redevelopment, Michael Plesh, going to renominate him. Cemetery Advisory Board, Jack DeFranco, Beth DeFranco, and Susan Eaton. Next is City Beautiful, Tracy Gottschalk. Compensation Committee, Michael Plesh, again. Downtown Development Authority, Tony LaPuma. Historical Commission, Kay Johnson, Bob Michalka. Planning Commission, Dennis McGee. Principal Shopping District, Karen Malsbury and Patricia Eisenbrown. And the Tree Committee, there was a question whether these people needed to be replaced or renominated, but William Thomas and replaced, right?
Cut.
Yeah, William Thomas and Melissa Weiss. So we can vote on those tonight, or we can vote on those, if you want to think about it, to the next meeting. It's up to people.
I'm happy to vote on them now. I've gone through the packet, and
Yeah,
Ms.
me
O'Connor
too.
was very helpful in getting all the applications to us and all the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
I know several of those people. I sit on a couple boards, so I would make a motion to approve the mayor nominations for the various boards that he just articulated.
Okay, so a motion by Councilmember Hauser, support by Councilmember Trent.
Yes, I support. Yep.
Further discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. Next are city council nominations to board and commissions. Are there any? Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
I believe I have one. I'd like to clarify with the clerk. Harry Al Fisk has submitted his nomination to re-up for the OPC, so I'd like to nominate Harry Al Fisk for the that's not the Older Person Commission, it's the OPC.
Right.
All right.
Any others?
That's all I have.
Okay. Councilmember Sage?
I'll nominate Linda Gamage for renewal on the Paint Creek Trailway Commission.
Okay.
I would I'm sorry.
Councilmember Hauser?
I would nominate Julie Quinlan Dufresne for library liaison.
Very very apropos, important position.
Absolutely.
Anything further? Okay, so is there a motion to approve those people tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve the slate of 3 that have been presented.
Motion by the Mayor Pro Tem.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Sage. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question for the city clerk. Is the Historic District Commission still active?
It's never been active.
No, it hasn't been active, but we haven't unactivated the non-active.
There's a couple of them.
That makes any sense.
So I'll nominate none.
And they'll have a very busy job doing that. Now, next is receipt of the check register. Are there any questions or comments? If not, we will move on to reports of various boards and commissions. First is a report from the Rochester Community House Board. I saw Alan here, but I guess he gave it up. So Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Yeah, I think it was here just to make sure that budget got approved.
Okay.
So the meeting with the board was exciting, and we went through our regular business, and then we're focused on timeline and, getting drawings completed and through planning commission. And I believe there's a meeting with city administration later this week. So just, they're working on timing and staging with things and activities that normally take place in the community house. So more to come, but very excited.
Very good. Next is a report from the Historical Commission. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder to all the citizens that the Greater Rochester Heritage Days Festival will be celebrated on Saturday, May 24th, and Sunday, May 25th. I do have a point of order, though, that I might raise. Mr. Manager, please.
Yes, Chief George came in today and said, the folks at the Historic Commission were like, oh, we forgot to ask for a special event for next week and 2 weeks event. So you have in front of you the event, they have the proper insurance, everything, and we would be in support. It was gonna go on 2 weeks ago and they just never got the paperwork in. So he did a quick review this afternoon and we would recommend this would be set for approval for
It's the Heritage.
the Heritage, May 25th, 26th,
Yeah,
2024 in
yeah.
Municipal Park as submitted in their application.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Councilmember Sage.
Support.
Support by Mayor Pro Tem Salvia. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. Very good. Next is a report from the Planning Commission. Councilmember Hauser.
Sure. So last Monday, we had a fairly long planning commission meeting, and we discussed 4 particular items. One was a very basic payment in lieu of parking over where the old Chomp Restaurant, or the Chomp Restaurant is located. That was passed. Then items B and C took up a considerable amount of time, in which we heard here this evening. One was the public hearing on the short-term rental ordinance, as well as the public hearing and consideration of 704 Woodward rezoning, which is the Solaronics project. Both were passed to come to city council, which we just discussed. And for the public out there listening at home or in the seats here, those will be addressed on June 24th. So please spread the word that if you have a comment, a concern, a question, or something to say about either of those 2 ordinance, or the short-term rental or the redevelopment at Solaronics, please be here 7 o'clock on June 24th. And that's, and then there was one other discussion about site plan or for down on Main Street there, right when you're coming off the bridge. I don't think it had a lot of traction, so I'm not sure if they'll be back. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think the builders said afterwards that they're not coming back.
Okay.
They withdrew.
Just one.
Councilmember King.
One observation from watching the planning commission meeting. I know we invite people to come up and speak to public comment, and I think we do have in our, bylaws or whatever it is, a time limitation. Maybe we just a suggestion that we try to keep to that, just because I know a lot of people will want to speak. And I don't know what that is.
We
Is it-
don't have that.
don't, so
We don't?
what I
They do?
understand.
They don't either.
What I understood the rule is that if you want to have a time restriction for a particular meeting, you have to do it before the meeting, like right at the very beginning, and say, listen, based on the crowd size, based on the issues, the number of items, we're going to implement a 4-minute, public speaking, time limitation. And you vote on it then, and that's what it would be for that one particular meeting, and it's, do you remember learning that at the training?
I
Yeah,
think
so
that's in Robert's rules.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
We
So
will-
you have to do it at the beginning of the meeting, and it has to be applied for everyone. You can't say you get 4 minutes and you get 7. It's universal, but you can do it meeting by meeting.
Right.
It would just, that'd be my suggestion, just given how long some of those have tended to
Right.
go and how many people we anticipate.
And I think that's something to consider.
Yeah.
I guess I will say, I think, I think you could tighten that up without that, but, we'll see.
It removes any ambiguity
Yeah.
as to
Yes.
arbitrarily
Unbiased.
stopping
Yes,
someone and starting, so
exactly.
you just, but again, I think we don't need it unless there's a special circumstance where there's a packed house on a hot topic issue.
Yeah.
That's just for me.
Yeah, I
would agree.
Receipt a report from the retirement board. Mr. City Manager?
So that meeting was canceled
Canceled
until,
tomorrow.
yes, sir.
It's tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, thank you.
Wednesday, yep.
Next is a report from the Skate Park Committee, Councilmember Jones.
Just so excited that, like, I'm on the agenda as a committee. I might have Nick fill in too. We just had our first meeting, well, weeks ago, I guess now, which was super exciting. I think, pretty much what we decided is, and Alec can chirp in if he needs to also, that, we need to come up with the players that are gonna be involved in the committee. Vaughn Gallagher has submitted the 2 other names, which will be Linda Gallagher and Kathy Dalton. So they will represent the community. There were, the engineer was there also, and there were some things that have to happen first, soil testing, to even see how the area is and what has to be done. And another test too, that I'm forgetting.
Yep, we're gonna check the environmental.
What
Soil
the
borings?
environment and what the soil is.
Because there was a dump there, and we want to make sure it's stable enough to be able to, and be able to be touching the soil.
And Vaughn did have, and I think he sent a third one, he had 3 companies he's already dealt with and gotten some quotes from. It's all pretty much based on square footage. He favored one of them, so he passed that information on. We really can't move in any direction until we find out about the soil, and if we can even put one there. So that's, our hope is that will all work out, right? Did I miss anything?
Nope, you got it.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for the report, Councilmember Jones. So as a point of clarification, is that board going to be a mayoral appointment? And so we've been
good
making
question.
those?
No, it's just,
Subcommittee?
Ad hoc? So
Thank
just
you,
an
ad hoc.
committee? Okay.
it's not a real committee, yeah.
That's a great question, yeah.
It's not a real committee.
Yeah.
Well, it's,
ad
It's
hoc.
not,
it's real
an
to
ad hoc.
me.
It's ad hoc.
It's real to me.
It's an ad hoc,
Kind of.
official, I should say.
Thank you for clarifying
Yeah.
who's involved. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if we can go back one, we're missing a council member on the retirement board. It was Mr. Gould. Leanne just pointed that
Councilmember
out.
Hauser, remember?
Oh, okay, that's
I
right.
got it put in, so I'll be there on Wednesday,
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
4:30,
You're right.
via Zoom.
We could go back to one as well. We need a alternate city council member on the Paint Creek Trail.
True.
Okay, if you're interested, let me know. Sarah,
Oh,
did you raise your hand, Sarah?
Wow,
Yes.
that's nice of you.
That trail is one of the reasons that
Yeah.
I wanted to move back to Rochester.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
So I
Perfect.
make a mayoral appointment as Sarah King.
Got it, thank you.
There.
Thank
Do you
you.
need an application?
We know you very well now.
There you go.
Okay, that's
Next is a
done.
report from the Pink Creek Trailway Committee.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember King, should we have? Councilmember
When do
Sage.
you meet? Should ask that.
When you meet?
The third Tuesday of every month.
In the evening, right?
Correct. Half the time is down at the cider mill, half the time's here in council chambers. I'll get you the.
So you have a report, Councilmember Sage?
I do. The trail was satisfied with the planning commission result on the Solaradox project. They will definitely be here with legal representation for the public hearing on the zoning issue. And then the only other update is we have begun our master plan process beginning this month. So we are preparing that document, which will probably be completed sometime by the end of this calendar year, and will be good for the next 5 years.
Very good. Yeah, I thought the Trailway was very willing to compromise and work with the developer, so I thought that worked out very positively. Next, a receipt of the report from the City Beautiful Commission. Councilmember Jones.
Councilmember Jones was in Charlevoix, so.
I got you covered.
She was not able, but
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you. So we'll make it quick here. So Colin and I both sit and we tell them everything that's going on in the park, how many benches we sold, what the maintenance programs are, all that good stuff. So we go over that quickly. They talked about, they're working with the tree committee to do a screen along, right by the trail crossing at Ludlow. There's 3 trees that were planted there. Now that we've got cooperation from Dillon and Upton to not put the salt there anymore, that opens up the door for us to put more screens. We met with Vince Rampalo, and we're going to add in additional ground cover and some trees to fill in, stagger them. So they're good for public safety. You have to make a better screen there and still be able to see when you cross the street there. So they're excited about that. They gave us an update on the mural. They have selected the artist they would like to do for the 4-panel, 4-season mural on the Kiwanis shelter. At your next council meeting, they'll come forward because it's our property. I want city council to approve the renderings. And they had 12 people apply, which, including our own Brian D'Annunzio and the clerks did renderings. And they chose, it's really nice. It's very cool. So you'll get a shot at that at the next meeting. And tree screen, and that's it.
Okay. Is there any further public comment tonight? Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Bixson and council. My name is Rich Power of Hemlock Drive. And my question is regarding the skate park. Have we put any thought into any legal liability that the city of Rochester could be under in the case of an accident of a user of the skate park?
Yeah, I think, Mr. City Manager, City Attorney, you can answer, but we have, and I think we've taken care of that. Mr. City Attorney, you want to?
Yeah, these skate parks aren't rare. Municipalities have them. The city does have insurance. It does have governmental immunity for almost every claim that could come out of there. There's always, anytime you have a city thing for people to participate in, whether it's fire and ice, whether it's skate park, there's always the, trip and falls or those types of things. It's a real thing for skate parks, but I don't think it's anything other than a normal liability. It's an insurance, anyway, the softball fields, we have the playgrounds that someone could fall off of. So I personally think it falls under the general comprehensive insurance.
Okay.
And governmental immunity certainly protects the city for most things.
Okay. And what about if some maneuver out there could be like really dangerous? What if someone could say that the way that was designed was too dangerous for almost any skater to handle safely, and then try to bring a lawsuit under those grounds that it was? Do we want to factor that into reviewing the design of the obstacles that get put into the skate park?
So it's my understanding that professionals are the ones who design these. The city employees aren't designing these, so I think that comes with it a valuable history of what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. But, certainly the city's not designing it. It's our park, it's our skate park. But I don't think that raises a level of concern, at least on my end, that any other issue on our city property. Great concerns, but I think the city is as covered as it could be.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, anybody else out there?
There is no additional comment. Thank you.
All right. Well, Brian, thank you for being there tonight. On to miscellaneous and public comment. Mr. City Manager.
Two things. Happy Mother's Day for all the mothers. I hope you had a great day. It was, certainly God gave us a great day. Otherwise, it was wonderful. I have to tell you that. I know people in Rochester saw it, but my wife talked me into driving up to St. Port Austin Friday night and sat on the beach, and we happened to hit the epicenter of, I went to Michigan Tech. I saw the Northern Lights for 4 straight years. I have never seen anything. It was a dome that came over. So anything you see, it was real. When we got there was 28 people on the beach. When we left, there were 4,000 people. They came from Ohio, Indiana, to that one little place in Port Austin, and it only lasted 23 minutes, and then it was over, and they all stayed there till 4 in the morning. It didn't happen again. So it was a boon for Port Austin's police department, watching people try to get out of there. That's all I'll say. But people enjoyed it in Rochester. You could see it here even. It was pretty special. So that's all.
Madam Clerk?
Reminder of Memorial Day festivities at Mount Avon start at 8 a.m. 2 weeks from today.
Good. Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Question on that, are the Boy Scouts putting the flags out?
They haven't done that the last several years. Our DPW.
Okay, we've got that covered.
They have a GIS mapping of the whole thing, so yeah, they're taking care of it.
Mr. City Attorney?
Just one more thing on the skate park that may be of interest is, I think that the city will be checking with its insurance company just to make sure that we're satisfying them as well. Because I think that's always a concern, is liability. But I think the risk management for the city will be incorporating or talking to them. I remember I was gonna get a trampoline when my kids were little, and I talked to my insurance guy. I said, get a net. Those are the things. You're good as long as you get a net. But those are the types of things that will make sure that the plans are run past the insurance company as well. So that's a good comment.
Sounds like a good idea there. Right. Councilmember King?
I don't have anything else this evening.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Nothing else?
Councilmember Sage?
Couple things. Councilmember King, the next Paint Creek Trailway meeting is Tuesday, the 21st. I will be away on business. I will forward your appointment to the trail manager and provide you with his contact information. You will have the ability to vote at this meeting.
Councilmember Sage, since you are the chair, does that mean Councilmember King is the chair?
Unfortunately, she cannot substitute as chair. Mr. Walker will be
What's the timing?
proctoring the meeting. And the second item, I would humbly...
What time is the meeting?
7, here in council chambers. I would humbly ask my colleagues for an excused absence due to travel on the April 8th and April 22nd council meetings.
Is there a motion?
I can't make my own motion.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
Motion by Councilmember Trent, support by Councilmember Hauser.
Absolutely.
Madam Clerk, the roll.
Dixon?
Yes.
Salvia?
Yes.
Hauser?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Sage?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Jones.
I know that Leanne already spoke to this, but we sit on the parade committee, and I'm just super excited about the parade. We had a meeting today, the regional chambers doing an amazing job. Maggie's so organized, and so very much looking forward to that on the 27th, as you said, at 8 o'clock with Mayor Bixson doing the opening remarks. And then I know you guys probably are sad you missed this, but I did sit in on a virtual meeting that was planners gathering, and it was the 3 regional energy utilities. And it was very fascinating. So I really am concerned about the outages, especially where we live over there on 7th Street. And so they just talked about what they're proposing, a new framework for planning and permitting the processes that focus on collaboration to mitigate the inefficiencies and meet the customer requests. They're investing more than $9 billion over the next 5 years to improve with the outages, making the grid safer, updating substations, tightening up maintenance and address severe weather, doing tree trimming on a different schedule. It'll be a 5-year rotation on tree trimming to end by 2025. And then consumers spoke, so it was DTD, consumers, and ITC, and it was very exciting. And one of the things I really felt that was important is to find out more about why we have so many outages, what can be improved. So that's all I have to say.
Councilmember Trent.
Just a couple of things. Yes, I wanted to comment on deck art. It was a great event, and I just reiterate the 327 decks and 50 businesses, and there were people walking on the street saying, "I'm looking for my son's skateboard art." On the back to the Memorial Day Parade, they're still taking, the Rochester Regional Chamber of Commerce, which is putting this on, they're still taking applications if you want to have your group in the parade. Or I guess association or anybody that wants to be in the parade. I don't know if it's individuals, but anyway, the applications are online at Rochester Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Very good, thank you. Councilmember Hauser?
Sure, very quickly. I just want to thank the chief, Cieslak, and Nick and your staff for addressing some of the blight concerns that we had raised and I had raised in the past. I texted you the other day, and Chief as well. I walked by there, and it looks much, much better. So thank you. I know it's a work in progress. And then, maybe in the next meeting when we have a little bit more time, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the process, and, the 10 days and, kind of what comes after. We can do that sometime at the next meeting.
Lights are up underground now.
Are they? Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you guys doing that. And Chief, thank you very much. All right. We'll go look after the meeting.
Yep.
You can. So thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple quick things. Notice I didn't make any comments about DTE tonight.
I noticed, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, no.
The Memorial Day Parade, 8 o'clock, come out on council, we're all gonna walk together, in the parade, so if you can come, bring your family, if you can, I think that should be good, kinda going back to the old days. The state of the city, a week from today, at the Van Hoosen Barn, and it will be, doors open at 6 o'clock, and we will start promptly at 7, and we will be short and sweet, I think. So we'll hopefully see you all there. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to those who stayed for the whole meeting.
Yeah.
Jeez, my goodness.
This is compared to the,
Right?